virtually every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden.
This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I'm your host, Adam Dunn, and I am here in the studio, the illustrious studio here at Tresor in Barcelona with the Dankster.
Yeah, and this is such an illustrious studio.
I try to pull out all the stops usually whenever I do anything on the road like this.
I love it.
The rider was very...
Quality backdrop you have here.
Hey, right now you don't even know what's going on behind you.
The private social club experience is amazing. I love it.
It's pretty awesome, right? So here we are, Spannabis 2019, after parties, post parties, pre-parties, everything going off around here. You just kind of came out of the blue, right? You weren't even supposed to be here. You're not even allowed here at this point.
I feel like I was invited, but it's possible that...
Slightly invited.
Okay. It might have just been lip service?
Yeah.
Beard service?
Luckily, you're the kind of guy that people want to see at these events, so they'll somehow pull it together to get you out here.
Right, right. It was a last-minute decision to come out, and I'm very happy that I did.
And this is... You came last year?
My last time here was, I think, 2015 or 2016. Yeah. It's been a little while.
Yeah, and I haven't been here since 2012, I think it was.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
That was for Spannabis. I have been to Basque Country in the north and stuff a couple of times since then. But for Spannabis here in Barcelona,
it's huge this year.
Amazing.
It's like 70,000 people or something like that.
Incredible.
It is. That's what they're saying.
I mean,
I don't know about that yet today, but in general,
yeah.
Ticket sales were, because last year was 45, and then they said this year it's going to be closer to 65.
The amount of booths and the size of the booths, and also just the authenticity of the booths too. It's not like 500 CBD companies or whatever. It's like real companies that have been around for years, for the most part.
It's an interesting mix for sure. It's like it's one of those ones where it's weird how there's a different take between Europe and America and all these different places, because right now in the States it's carpetbaggers and CBD companies coming out of nowhere and just like you said, like cookie cutter, just boop, 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 boop. All of a sudden
Investors.
There's 50. You're like, where do these fucking things come from? Here you get some old school, some new, and man, the explosion of seed companies is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's a whole fucking new generation here, which is it's half inspiring and half depressing, because you also know that within that there's just like thinner and thinner quality whenever you get more and more.
The poly hybrid situation is a little bit out of control as far as how many things are being mixed together and how you can buy 10 seeds and get 10 phenotypes. And I mean, it's
the same thing that it was like the Amsterdam curse was always that it was just a recombination of haze, Northern Lights, skunk, like in just 5 different ways, you know what I mean? And then there'd be something, maybe added to the mix here and there, but for the most part, it was just recombinations, you know?
Right. Slightly incestuous.
Heavily incestuous.
Like the industry itself.
Heavily incestuous.
In some ways.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the part, though, that's interesting is that now everyone's like egoed out too. Like, oh my God, I haven't seen, just have to watch how people like are trying to like present themselves as the epicenter of breeding or whatever, and you're like, come on guys, it's just like slow down.
I mean, it's a plant and we're all in service to the plant, and anything we can do to improve on it is wonderful. But just taking an elite strain and crossing it to another elite strain and throwing those seeds out is not breeding, and we all know that.
Well, we've talked about this, I think, with a lot of people too. It's like it's a combination. Now everyone's more interested in the names before the strains themselves, and before the actual growing characteristics of the plant. Like if you named it before you ever smoked it or grew it, then you're probably just going on that whole like, oh, it's going to be a do-si-do times cookie something. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, that's hot strains, but it doesn't mean that they're going to automatically create.
And it also means you're basically using your audience as testers. You know what I mean? So in the old days, if you put out tester seeds, you kind of gave them away and you let people figure it out, and they found the phenos for you, and then you'd work with those, and they basically helped you with the selection process. But they did it as a favor, and they got access to decent genetics in most cases,
and new
right, and new things. But they weren't paying $140 a pack for the right to just test seeds. They the ones they paid for were stabilized.
Sure, and also I think like you can really ruin a sort of lineage just by rushing to the finish line quickly especially on the name choice. First of all, because everybody, even though it sounds like it's not that important, it is important because it's like the first thing when people hear certain strains, and if it doesn't work, like if you call it something and it's not even remotely close to that, then you've pretty much created a dud at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but the minute you have something that you're just like, holy shit, that does taste like a Jolly Rancher, that's fucking crazy. Like it's a specific one. Like I even had something today that tasted like literally like celery and cucumber water at a hotel. Like it's like, dude, that's fucking weird. I was like, like you stirred a celery. And I was like, that's
South Beach in Miami.
It was a strange one.
You wake up and you get that cucumber water out of the
exactly. Well, the hotel that we're at, Carla, they got that same thing. It was like, but it was weird. It was like that really does taste like celery and fucking. Of course, they never noticed that.
I'd like to see the strains tell you what they're going to do to you rather so much the name of the strain themselves. I really don't care about that. Yeah. I'd love to hear it just list the effects right down. Yeah.
Well, it's almost.
I mean, if you're breeding for the name, then you've already kind of starting off. Desirable traits are not names.
That's Instagram.
They're traits.
It's like an Instagram breeder basically at that point.
Yeah,
because it's got to look good. It's got to have a good name.
Right.
And that is the sad part. It's like we're really running out of fucking names. I'm like, holy shit, dude! We're coming out with like
some of these crazy strains you're talking about, though, are fantastic. These slurricane and the wedding cake and all these. I mean, they're amazing strains, but they're phenotypes that have been found through selection out of seeds. So you buy a 10-pack, you might not get that pheno out of a whole.
You most likely won't.
Most likely won't.
If you're unless the thing is most strains are not IBLs. Most strains haven't got real like consistent work done to them where they're actually like really hitting over like 85% consistency. Most of them not. Most of them are all over the place. And if you it's like breeding dogs. I mean, if you have a great stud, or a bitch. I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, edit that out. Back up and edit it
out.
Go
back. Edit back.
But you're right. Stability.
It doesn't automatically mean the puppies are going to be awesome, just because it really comes down, and then again to the genetics for real. Like if are we talking like great in this generation, but not so great in the next, and then on top of that, you got like obviously who's raising it, right? So it's the same as like quality of cannabis. But you got what do you got? IDs over here? What's going on? I see 5
we're
IDs.
signing up as members for this club.
Oh, okay. You're pulling out all your IDs at once. I was like, which one? Who am I? Who am I today?
Holy shit! That's a great film. But you're right. Stability is no longer like one of the main factors here in desirable traits. And I mean, I think we need to get back to that. I mean,
well, if
I've heard people say, "Oh, it hurt me's out in the 7th or 8th week."
Yeah, well, that's unacceptable.
You're already making excuses for something.
I mean, I think like Gorilla Glue is a fine example of that, where it's like it's kind of borderline hermy plant, where it's like it just takes a little bit too much pushing it, and it will pop off a couple. You know what I mean? And those couple. That's why there's so many crosses of Gorilla Glue out there, because so many people had that little small, a couple hundred seeds, and they were actually really good because they were probably female seeds, because it probably was, what I mean? It's like, so they're probably not bad, but they just keep carrying on the same problems, you know what I mean? So you end up with like a whole bunch of
mediocre. Back to the beginning, breed them out again.
Well,
that's what you guys got.
I had a
I'll just critique it.
I had a guy we talked to recently who's from Kazakhstan, and he said there's 400,000 acres of wild cannabis growing in a region that's never been, done by man at all. It's just been completely just keeps going back, hundreds of, maybe even thousands of years. So It's just like, that's it, wild. And he's got access now to that for extraction because he's shown that he can take all the THC out and just produce everything else. And they're like, oh, cool. Why don't you help us clean up this 500,000 acres of wild crap. You know what I mean? But that's kind of where you're going to find all your secrets right there.
Sure.
That's
well, that's the birthplace.
It's
really.
literally just like been. Yeah, it is.
That Chinese, Kazakh, Tajiki, Afghan areas.
It is literally the birthplace, and on top of that, it's like it's been so outcrossed at this point, to the point of like almost guarantee you it's going to be like whatever it is THC is probably CBD already. Just probably just balanced. Usually in those kind of situations, it'll be a 10-10 or a 12-11 or some cannatonic style strain or something.
Right. In nature, it just sort of goes to the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it's chosen for hash, it goes in one way. When it's chosen for tea, it goes in another. When it's chosen for, hemp and ruderalis kind of stuff in northern Russia and places like that, it goes to that place, and that's where hemp, comes from, really. And what's interesting about that also is that that's the human intervention in the plant's sort of, where it goes.
That's where they enslaved us, basically, at that point.
In a way, like Michael Pollan, the botany of desire. Exactly. The plants enslaved us. But the cool thing is that, those traits change over time. What's desirable changes. So we're talking about stability, less desirable. When we started out in, the 80s and 90s, it was like, the desirable traits were like chunky, fast. Indica, fast, 45, 50 days, bag appeal. Now, the concentrate game has changed what's desirable. Yeah. You want surface area. You want the wispy sativa that might take an extra, 10 weeks.
You just want a unique terp profiles.
You want the profile, but you want the surface area too, because you want wispy's okay for a concentrate maker, because the more surface area, the more they can strip those terpenes off.
Yeah.
And they take it early anyway, right? So they'll take a 10-week strain down at 6 or 7 weeks, because they get a clearer kind of,
Don't give out all this.
Is that too much of?
No,
all right.
What I was
I'm talking out of school.
I'm just kidding.
Kidding.
Yeah, no.
I feel like that's a pretty open secret as far as like the clarity of concentrates. The earlier you take them down, within reason, right?
Yeah.
But it's certainly a lot earlier than we would take anything down for flower production.
Next, you're going to tell them they can take a loop and actually look at the trichromes on there and actually decide what they want to harvest for what type of refinement.
But a lot of times, most of the times, if you actually are, if you're on there checking them out every time, it seems like you almost miss the window quicker, because you get so hypercritical at that point. Right. You're literally like, oh my God, it was so good 8 hours ago. You know what I mean? But the reality is, you should have actually probably pulled it a couple days before that, right? Because when you think it's really ready, it's probably too far. You know what I mean?
And like a steak, you take it off the grill. I know you're a vegan. I'm sorry, but
when I take a steak off the grill, it's usually just
even
throw
vegetables.
It away
no, but I'm saying even vegetables. You take them off the grill, they stay warm. They continue to cook on the plate. You vent them and all that. The trichomes continue to develop cake, right? After you cut it down. So I agree. Also,
that's where the art. That's where the art comes into it, though. It's like literally like the couple times, because a lot. What I've always noticed is, because I grow with my mom a lot, and she's obviously going to tell me what to do. And she's my mom, right? So pretty much like
I grow with my mom a lot. That's a hashtag.
His mom's
there's tens of people out there hashtagging I grow with my mom.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, of course she's always right? Like, oh yeah, you should have pulled it out there, and I'll argue with her back and forth. But at the end of the day, because she's really like attentive on those daily chores and things, whereas I'm like, it'll be fine, don't worry, what I mean?
There's a big window,
and she's really finite on those things. And a lot of times it just seems like lately it's been, especially because Colorado's so fucking dry, right? You're just like, dude, what you thought you did in a week, you need to do it in 3 days, because if you do it in a week, it's already too dry, by the time you're done. So there's a lot of just always timing issues, and it depends where you're at.
Yeah. That climate thing is so important, because people ask me all the time about like grow questions. I'm like, well, where are you? What They're like, how long should my take to dry my plants? I'm like, well, are you in Colorado? Are you in Northern California? Are you in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Should I use a humidifier? Should I get a dehumidifier? I'm like, well, it really all depends.
No. I want one solution that works everywhere, please. And I need it now.
Well, the difference too, though, is like. in a small scale, of course, it's like you kind of want to adjust to wherever you're at. But in a larger scale production, you kind of got to be ready for both, right? Whether even if you're in a dry environment, who the fuck knows? You know what I mean? All of a sudden, you get like super, because there is times in Colorado where it gets humid. Nobody knows what the fuck.
Denver has weather changes.
It rains there occasionally.
Denver has weather changes, you guys. Breaking news. It could be 60 degrees and then 5 degrees.
We just had snowpocalypse, bro.
Oh, that's right. How'd you make it out?
We left early.
Yeah.
We were out. We pretty much wussed out. We were out the door like later.
Did you change your flight?
No, I didn't have to.
No, because I flew out on Tuesday.
No, you were pushing,
and it was fine.
Now, do you find that taking plants down later, like past the window where they're like amber, it makes for like a more lethargic smoke? So even if it's a sativa,
usually
it could make it a little more like.
It's not as quite as jumpy or electric as it was the other way if you like hold it a little earlier.
Well, it's THC degrading into CBN and that sort of thing.
Which is weird because right now, all of a sudden, CBN is like the fucking hot. It's like the hot date. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, CBN. I want shitloads of that.
What do you mean it's last year's CBG?
You're like, I know, but you're like, CBN, who wants that? That's like degraded weed. I mean, that's like terrible. But it isn't. But it's got a good therapeutic.
I mean, I guess we're old. We're talking about cannabinoids. I feel like the kids are all about the terps.
Oh, they're all about the terps.
Cannabinoids are for old guys like us.
I found a 19
terps are for the kids.
A 1994 catalog. Well, not even catalog, just like a price list, and it was a Maui. It was a Maui Mist. It had a strain called Maui Mist, and it basically said like I had spelled terpenoids with a U, so I knew I was like I was close. I was close, but no cigar. But I was like, it looked like terpenoids, but it was. And I was like, look at that, man! I was on the terpenoid and flavonoid tip in my descriptions. Back
Dude,
then.
You were on the rosin tip. I remember the Laminator. That's rosin.
I know, but I was stupid. I was like, I was like,
you call it stupid. I call it the best way ever to mail hash back home.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
back up.
Hello.
Check. Wrong number. Crank call.
Oh yeah, this is before it was before it was.
But you were really pressing. I mean, helping. You know what? Let's just rewind this and just say
the statute of limitations is gone. Nobody's coming for you.
Let's just say there was a laminator machine
behind you in the corner. You can kind of see it. Oh, it's there.
There's a laminator machine.
There's a laminator right there.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, we could
the original rosin press.
Yeah, well, the sad part is that because I was so fixated on trying to keep it in this picture, I didn't want it to spread out. That when it did spread out, I didn't realize that was all the rosin, and I was just kind of like cutting that away and throwing that. This is all fucked. It's all stuck into the paper. It's no good. But if I just fucking threw wax paper down, that would have been it. Like,
right. Oh man.
Oh, parchment paper, bro. Just
and then
if somebody came back to me
obvious.
like from the future and been like, parchment paper. I'd be like, because I would just make these things, and then at the end, it would all. If it was really good, it would just squish out, and then it would be like the best quality all stuck into the paper. So
now you would be viral on Instagram with that, like the squishiness of that.
The funny part was it was like at that moment in time, I really felt like there was very few like times that you could have access to a lot of weed at all times. Be comfortable enough to be play around with it and fucking screen it and stuff, and because you have to be so secretive, and you're all of a sudden like fucking whipping up. And so I was just making, when I was doing all the dry sieve back in the day, it was like it's a moment in time. I was like, hey, I'm probably like one of a couple hundred people in the world that even do this. It's still, you know what I mean? It was like just about to die as a tradition because nobody was, unless you lived in Morocco or you lived in some Afghanistan or something. But for the most part, it wasn't like it was in the 60s and 70s and people going over to learn and make chars and stuff, because it all kind of mostly changed. There's still some small families, but for the most part, all that kind of changed. So when I'm in Amsterdam, I'm just like cobbles. I got my little like wooden thing there, and I'm knocking out I was making pogs at the time, like little hash pogs.
Right. Like basically coins of pressed
inside of a laminate. And I had
pressed keef, like just.
Yeah, because it was dry sieve.
Dry sieve.
And dry sieve is just so much nicer to work with on a long term thing. If you want to make something and like let it sit for 10 years and come back and actually be able to smoke it or something, or preserve something, you can't beat it. Like dry sieve just naturally does it.
It's the gland head, so it's like contained within there. The oil is like
it just has a
it's in there until you mush it up and secrete it or whatever. It's like naturally contained within that. gland head.
And secrete it.
Secreting hash from your
And
just squeeze your hand and it secretes it. Yeah, it's perfect.
these dab kids need to know, you know.
These dab kids need to know.
These young kids, you need to understand how it
Whippersnappers.
was.
Well, we're literally at that phase now in our life where everyone is the dang whippersnapper.
The whippet,
kid. Yeah.
the whippet snappers.
No, we were the whippet snappers. 100%.
Speak for yourself.
These kids don't even know what's up.
The whippet snappers. That's a good one.
You like that?
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt.
It's done.
Somebody's already doing it.
Do it.
In cyberspace right now, hashtag whippersnappers.
Whippet snappers.
Whippersnappers.
I like tree basing too. That was one I thought was funny for a t-shirt, but I guess the
basing.
yeah.
So, what's you going to Sharp Tower tomorrow?
I'd like to.
Oh,
Of course. Yeah.
We'll get you in.
Do you know anybody?
If you can get me in,
I
can
might
you get
know
me in?
somebody.
All right, sweet.
I might know somebody.
How does it work? What do we have to mention? What's the code
Well,
word?
it's not the done deal.
Is there a shake or something? Or
Unfortunately, the done deal works.
There's a certain
here.
amount of Instagram followers that you need to get in. I think.
Shit.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll go as your bitch.
No.
That would
Yeah.
be typical. That would be typical.
I have like
You
37.
want to switch with Jesse?
Plus, they have to be organic. Or they have to be veganic.
There you go, Jesse.
Veganic?
Yeah, it's beyond organic. It's the new influencer thing. You need veganic. I'm just
Is Kyle here?
Isn't that, yeah, I was going to say, isn't it
Which
Fisherman?
Kyle?
You're talking veganics.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen him here, but
Oh, nice.
I wrote to him. He didn't write back. So
little
It's
sauce.
very turpage.
Uh-oh.
Very turpage.
Turpage.
Uh-oh.
Oh, see, saucy goodness. What's going on back there?
J Lopes.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Mr. Lopez himself.
Pass this way.
I call him J
All
Lopes.
former. These are all former guests. You know, I'm totally like just rehashing old.
I just made the mistake.
Washed up. I get it.
You like that?
I get it.
Rehashing washed up old.
Wait,
guests.
washed up?
Washed up old guests. Yeah, that I was just like.
But washed in very, very cold water.
Yeah, and hang dried and very gently. Yeah. Yes, of course. Hang dried.
Just happy to be here, everybody. Thanks for having me.
And everybody just to
Just
know
want to play
that
good. Just want to be good.
Jesse was responsible for getting Mr. Danko out here. He put him in his luggage. I heard
That's right.
I heard you were in the luggage, right?
I was.
That was a good trip.
yeah.
That was a
Brought
good
the
deal.
Louis bag so he'd be comfortable.
Nice.
I also had to bring the culero.
Culero.
Do you know about the culero?
No.
Culero.
Tell us.
That's a Spanish thing. That's the hash that makes its way over through the culo.
Oh, good job. Good job.
Is that a buzzkill? We gotta get high.
I gotta
All right,
go.
I like my hash with corners. That's what my friend Craig Coffey says.
It's funny.
Yeah,
I
I
like that.
like hash with sharp corners on it.
Yeah, then you know at least it didn't come through.
Are you sure? They couldn't have just cut the
Those
middle out?
egg ones,
I
those
know.
certain sized eggs. The
It's
shoe
funny.
hash I like too. It's
Shoe
like
hash is good,
shoe
but
shape,
shoe, you know,
But
shoe
still, there's like foot sweat going
foot
on.
funk going down.
Yeah, there's
Wait,
funk
you
and
put
sweat.
a balloon around Danko and shove
But
it
in
up?
general, I'm the same. Like I saw
This is
Minutes.
the comfortable play. I had a couple of layovers.
like when you see chunks of hash, especially here in Spain, a lot of times are already in it, and the guys are always like, no. It's never been swallowed. You know, you're like, yeah, well, why is it this shape? Well, it's gonna be swallowed, but you know, it never made it there.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
decided
sure,
on
sure.
a different route.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's
was
like these
get 'em to
bulbs.
the
I only
Greek
use these
shop.
bulbs for one crop, bro. Just
This
one
is like-
crop. Well,
this is
one long 3-year crop that I did that never quite finished, and here they are.
This was like get him to the Greek. I got to the airport with Jesse, and he was like, "Listen, just bring this. We got to bring this."
Oh, at the
And I
end.
was like, wait. I
I
was
told
like,
him, get a running start and just dive on in there.
I was like, wait a second. I thought I was just going to Barcelona. Now, wow.
Was it inline, like hand back?
Yeah.
Those?
Oh, like
thanks.
full, yeah, like
Thanks,
it was-
buddy.
Yeah, it was.
Well, yeah, you paid your ticket, dude. That's it.
I know.
Like, yeah.
And the hash made it here, and you're smoking it right now.
Oh my
That's
god.
right.
Welcome to hello, Officer Studenko. You got that? You got that.
I
We
mean, it
got
was
that.
plastic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's plastic hash, 100%.
This is
And there was no
not
In
corners.
between
Yeah.
that,
pine.
Yeah. No.
We got a strain. We got a strain name on that.
We can take our.
It's
I think our
SpaceX. It's Pineapple Express crossed by Skywalker.
Oh,
Repeat that.
Skywalker
Pineapple
Express.
Pineapple Express.
Pineapple-
Skywalker.
Pineapple
Okay.
Express crossed with Star Wars,
Star
Skywalker.
Wars.
and it's by
you gotta
Yeah, I made this. I made the strain.
Nice.
okay
Shout out your company.
Green Gold Healing.
There we go.
Yeah,
Green
man.
Gold
This is the
healing.
fire right here.
If you guys can see this on the
This is the
screen.
fire. You need smell-o-vision at home. So
Yeah.
like 12, 13 people out there, man.
They
I'm
have it.
telling you.
Did you see that thing they had it posted the other day? It's out. It's happening. But I don't know if it's
Smell-o-vision?
yeah, I don't know if it's real.
Come on.
They said VR goggles, and then you got this thing, and they have up to 300 cents that they can.
I believe
every,
it, 'cause
every
they
couple of months,
really want
every
it.
couple of months, someone comes to High Times and tells us, "Oh, we
You
got
want
We got the scratch and sniff. This one smells just like weed.
And the hoverboard.
I've never smelled one that smelled like weed.
No.
Yeah. And we even did one time, and it was close.
I remember.
Yeah, come on.
I actually brought this silly little coin that they make. My assistant Dan got it for me a long time ago, and this is scratch and sniff, and it does not smell like weed. Yeah, like seriously, if you touch the green part, and then it has like a little. It doesn't smell like weed. It smells like pine sol, but whatever, they tried.
Scratch and sniff coin. Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Yeah,
just in general.
You have everybody touch
people
your
gift
coin
you all
and
kinds.
stick it
Yeah,
up
and then you
your
put it in
nose.
your nose.
Wait till you hear how he got it from America to here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You were holding it when he shoved it.
it was too packed in the rear, so we had to figure out something new.
When you scratch it, you really sniff.
That's like 2 in that copper weed.
No, this is the fire right here. What is this called again? Come on.
Skywalker times.
What's the
Pineapple
name?
Express.
Why is it
Pineapple
settling?
Express. We call it SpaceX.
Look at the 2 different weights.
So
we
SpaceX
have
is-
the terps floating
the name
on
is
top.
SpaceX.
And we have
And
some more.
It's like sauce diamonds.
You don't
and the
see
terps all mixed
stuff
No,
like
that
that
is fantastic.
in Spain quite as often. I mean,
No.
I haven't been here for a couple of years, but
And where are you based out of?
I'm here now, but I'm
Oh,
from
yeah?
San Diego.
Oh, awesome.
branched out.
Oh, nice. So that's local fare there.
Try it
Where
out.
can you pick that up here?
Oh, yeah. I already missed that on that.
where's that available?
A lot of the social clubs have it available, yeah.
Social
It's
clubs
Ask
under-
for it by name.
Yeah, it's under U.S. extracts.
U.S. Extra.
U.S. extracts in Barcelona, Spain, where the scene is incredible. I mean, we're talking to people who may not have ever been here. They have to understand what's going on. I mean, this social club situation is
Well, the
incredible.
one that we're in right now, let's say here at Tresor, this has been here for about a year, and you can just tell that like there's like, at least 30 or more in that are decent. Like there's probably many more underground ones, but there's like 30 good solid ones.
My hat's really off to like the owners. They do a good job at making it a beautiful ambiance. They try to, it's inviting when you come in. I've been to numerous places that were more speakeasy, we'll say it that way, than social club. And in the States, sometimes they just buy a dilapidated building, and then the next thing you know, you're calling it a club. Here, it's like it's something you want to be a part of instead of like, oh, you guys just want to go there tonight.
But they still take a risk.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a huge risk, and like they're sticking their necks on the line and
What's
creating
also
this social use, which I think is so important for people to see.
what was interesting at the show today was to meet with a couple different Dutch crews that have come down here to set up shop here, and just the amount of you can just tell every one of them's tired from the ordeal. It was not.
You were there 25 years, right?
Oh yeah, well that's tired there, but just coming here to set it up here too is not as easy as people think. It's like it's one of those things where you really have to jump through more hoops than
It's
you
different
think.
business. In America, you walk in, they tell you, leave that. We're going to give you half what you want in 3 months, and we'll see you later. You come back, you see it for 5 times the price on the shelf. Over here, there's too many people coming in bringing stuff. You need to come in, you need to sit down, you need to make business, they need to build confidence in your product.
Yeah, and just I think also the like you were saying, how the clubs are taking a risk here is because also the rules haven't quite been fully adapted. And the good part though is that the real idea of a good social club like what Amsterdam had as a vibe back in the day is here for sure. Like it's definitely alive and well. Whereas like in the States, it's shit. You know what I mean? We haven't got one good.
Depends
place.
on where you go. I mean, there's places here and there. They're few and far between, but
and if they are, they're only because they, are all inclusive. It's not like a place where you can just walk in.
Oh, certainly.
You know what I mean?
It's a private situation.
There's something about being in Amsterdam where you can sit outside on a porch, outdoors. You're
Sight
part of
seeing.
the.
If it's
looking at the world
Watch
go
the
by,
people.
right?
Dutch Flowers has a police station across the street, so I
Right.
love sitting there and just watching them go in and out of the police station. And they don't have a care in the world about us smoking our weed in the right across the street.
Yeah,
Because we're not the criminals that they're looking for, We're
It's like
just-
we were talking about today, though, when we were saying that it feels a little more rushed when you're in Amsterdam. You come in, it says free Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi is broke or they don't have it on. It's come in, get your stuff, and then get on out so the next customer can come in and get their stuff. It's not so big. It's not so it's welcoming. Whereas here, it's like, come on in, sit down, have a drink. We got sandwiches as well. You need some weed. It's up here.
It's a very
And to top on
inviting.
that, people will take the weed. They'll I got the gelato, try this, and then somebody else will buy the haze or whatever, and they'll sit down, they'll compare, and they'll look up the breeder, and they'll walk, and it gives you something to do while you're sitting here. So the education level between the customers here is way more in depth than the average person that's picking up a dime bag from the buddy and trying to get a deal back in California.
Yeah.
the culture is a little different. This is more like they call them a social lounge. These are people coming to relax after a long day of work. In fact, last night we were at one of the places, and a gentleman. No, it's no good. He didn't like it. And a gentleman had just come in from working all night long, and he had to study a bunch of stuff. And he's like, "I'm just stopping by for a real quick joint, and then I'm back home." And that was cool to see. It's like a bar scene here, rather than the sesh style where you show up from the moment it opens and you don't leave until they're kicking out of the parking lot. It was awesome to just see that vibe of easy access, come and go that quickly.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's once you get, past the whole neighbors and bullshit and things like that, 99% of the time is never an issue. It's just a matter of, like, people get this weird idea, like, oh, man, it's going to be crazy. You're like, really? It's, like, way less crazy than a bar, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's the nicest storefront on the block.
Yeah, like legit, this entrance to this facility, it's like a hotel. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, recently I noticed in Amsterdam, like the prices of like Cali weed, it's like New York used to be or something. Like the fanciest cannabis in Amsterdam is like 40 euros a gram.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, that's a joint or two, depending on how you roll joints. And for me, it's a joint.
It's a joint.
Yeah, one joint.
That's a 40 euro joint. I mean, and they call it, it better be good, but it's Cali outdoor, or it might even be grown even in Holland, but it's Cali, strains or whatever.
Ridiculous.
But I mean, that's just a price that's ridiculous and shouldn't be.
Well, I mean, when you equate it to the current situation in like Prop 64 for California, it's almost identical. It's not exactly the same because obviously the euro has a little bit higher value than the dollar. But if you're in, California right now, I had people that were, visiting from a different state, and they were blown away that they paid $60 for an eighth of something that when they got what they saw in the jar wasn't actually what was in the showcase. And so,
but that's also taxes and loopholes and regulations that people have to jump
out here. It's part of those.
Here, they're just charging you more because it's just better than
like our cab driver.
It's just they know it's a premium product and they know you're desperate for something better than just what's the average thing that's 10 or 12 euro a gram, and we'll pay the extra because we want the quality. I think that also is telling for us back in the States where everyone's so afraid of corporate cannabis. But as they have this race to the bottom and quality just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping and prices keep dropping too, I think our real connoisseurs and aficionados are going to create an industry where the real craft cannabis, the small batch, mom and pops.
I'm a little nervous though, because the problem is that everybody literally has the same answer, like, oh, but I'm going to grow craft cannabis. It's like, well, not everybody can do that.
Well, no, of course not.
Not just by saying you're craft or by being not so big, or by
there's way
doing
more
it your way that you think is the right way. Doesn't mean that.
Right.
It could
be no-till garbage, and that happens.
What do you mean no-till garbage?
It could be.
Garbage. Whoa,
right?
Bro,
I mean,
my sponsors are going to freak out. They're going to be dropping me. They'll be like, he called it no-till.
That wasn't
I love no-till. I mean, I speak up for
it can be grown,
all of that.
It can,
but I'm saying
both
strain is wrong.
All of it can be grown wrong,
sure.
Of course. And then on top of that is like, I think everybody's just as good as what they've been exposed to. That's as far as you can go.
Right.
Like, you can imagine what better weed is like, but it's hard to know.
You only know what's around you.
It's hard to know it until you actually smoked it or grew it or have been around it. And sometimes when you go to, it's like when you're traveling and somebody gives you weed and you feel obligated, obviously, to kind of like test it or check it out. And sometimes it's just lackluster at best. But in their world, that was, pinnacle of their deal. And you don't want to tell them, like, it's, really garbage. But at the same time, you do realize that that guy could almost never get to that level because he just hasn't even got a clue.
I think that's why I'm viewed of as such an asshole, because I literally am like, yo, bro, let me talk to you real quick. Like, this, like, I'm not trying to be like, yo, you just offered me that. But, like, I've seen some really good stuff, and let me talk to you and show you a couple of maneuvers that maybe will help you. And so sometimes just stepping into the game and like telling somebody like, hey, I noticed that your plant looks like this, which might be a deficiency of that. And if you increase this, that might be helpful. Some people don't like that.
Well, I try to do it.
Yeah, I try. But
I try to do it in a nice way. No, you got to do it in a nice way. You got to like, compliment it and then tell them, but it's way overfed. And
I gotta have you with me, Danny, so you can coax me along with it. Because normally I'm like, dude, this is shit. Let me show you how to grow some good ass weed. And then they're like, I hate that guy. So my apologies to all those people.
And
Sorry,
it's really, I mean, it's really hard to go into any. I mean, actually, I always find it the opposite. Though, like when you go into someone else's garden, I can figure their garden out real quick. My own garden.
But what's funny is,
we
talk about this.
That's in
we talk about
you
this
need somebody else to critique you. You don't see yourself unless you're looking in the mirror and really having that moment.
Yeah.
But we talk about this like we're snobs or whatever.
Yeah.
And we are in a way.
My God,
but if we're in Costa Rica and somebody breaks out some boof, seeded like
Paraguay,
brick or whatever. And that's all we got.
Yeah. I'm gonna get high on
you and
it.
me and all of us in this room.
It may give me a headache, but I'm gonna be like, cool. This is a headache.
I actually get really buzzed on that kind of weed though, because it's usually like I'm like,
it's so different.
Well, the cannabinoids
never smoked this in a million years.
Yes.
Why'd I get really high? Why'd I get so high off of that?
1987 called.
Yeah,
it's the paraquat.
And I'm like laughing on the couch watching Fat Albert again with a fucking pint of ice cream.
What?
It's paraquat terps.
Yeah.
You guys know about the paraquat terps?
Some of the viewers and listeners are way too young for that.
Google
but all of us
Google
right here,
paraquat.
we got paraquat lungs.
Google paraquat. And
What do they call? Do you call them dab kids again? Right? All the
I
dab
don't
kids.
know.
We're talking about things that happened in maybe the late 70s, early 80s.
Joints and bongs were our
Paraquat.
When your parents were
Paraquat was
born.
like
When your
Reagan
parents were
time.
born.
Yeah.
Paraquat was Reagan. That was 86.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. Miss you, honey.
R.I.P.
Just say N2O.
So what?
Or
So,
NO2.
so what? Have you been? You did the whole show today? Or cruise
Yeah,
around?
it was a cool show.
I
I'm
got
still
there late myself.
still out there. I actually did too. It's the whole change and transition of everything.
That's the manic
I
grinder.
I think it was the going to bed at 5 a.m. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably the reason why it was a little harder.
we went out to a restaurant too late and had the most amazing food, so it was a good time. This guy showed us around, and we've all had a good time. But no, it was a good show. I'm still really trying to see some more hemp technologies out there. Really hoping to inspire some people to want to, instead of just be a CBD member or something like that in the industry, to start contributing the real products. So some more plastic companies, a little more paper, and I get,
and that's the ones that I think are going to be
that's the longevity,
the real deal as far as when it comes down to like, what are you going to do with 100,000 acres of hemp? Even if you're going to make CBD.
Pants.
What?
I'm going to make pants.
Pants.
That ain't gonna work.
Well, you can break some of it down to pants.
Forget about your pants.
As someone who is
make your pants.
has a longevity.
I can tell you one thing. Pants are fucking a nightmare, dude. If you want to make clothes, don't make pants. Make everything but pants. Because pants are what people complain about the most. I figured that out real quick as owning a shop. It's like couldn't get anybody to agree on anything. Like when it came to that, like if you had a certain style, it was either to this, to that, whatever. Didn't make my ass look right or something like that. Whereas with tops, I'll take it. You know, that was pretty much I was like, much easier.
Well, pants you gotta like put on, and you know,
well,
and take your other pants off.
What? That's a lot of work right there.
Yeah.
That's
I liked Hempies. Those were decent pants.
Yeah.
Ecolution had kind of pretty good ones, but
honestly, though, when it comes to like
if
the
you see a photo of yourself wearing Ecolution pants, you'll disagree with that.
It was
I think I will, because I saw myself in the pair. I was like,
we all wore funny pants.
Do you own anything by Adam Dunn? Because I don't own anything by Adam Dunn. Because you know why? Because he doesn't make things in my size.
You know what? I actually I have a 2XL parka that does not button, but I still rock that motherfucker with a goddamn dope ass. Yes, man.
Boom.
I got my scarf, and I'll be in Amsterdam showing off my
Scarf and a
headline.
barely zipped up jacket.
Well, you know what? Most guys in Europe aren't the biggest of people. So at the time that they were created, that wasn't really the demographic. And now that they're merging into that American market, they better start having some 6XL.
You're putting on a scarf to go European?
Yeah.
We actually
Blended.
did do a pretty
Nobody
good
notices.
triple X, and we did some 4Xs. So
I feel like there were some big sizes.
We
here
had
and
some
there.
big boys.
And the bulletproof ones.
And I've had a bunch of guys that come in. Used to come in the store, and they'd always be like, "You ain't got nothing that fits me." And I'd be like, "Boom, put it on. Oh shit, it fits." And then he'd be like,
they do run a
wow. So we nailed them. Yeah, we did.
Well, the cool thing is you don't have to wear a
Europeans.
sweatshirt underneath.
We were too big for Europeans. That was our problem. And we were still too small for Americans.
I still am.
It was like a never-ending
Yeah.
figure it out. One side. I admit, whatever did it fit me, fine. So that's all that mattered really. At the end of the day.
Honestly, back to that quick topic about pants, though, and Adam is right. Really quickly, on the stoner tip.
Let's get back on the pants.
Honestly, like when it comes down to the pants, there's only really one use for hemp pants, and that's like a scrubs outfit for like a nurse or a doctor or something like that. And the reason for that is obvious. It's the hemp resistant, all the factors and blah blah blah. But besides that, they're really not the most comfortable things to wear. And
what? Don't start with that.
Well, unless you have broken them in, or there's a little bit behind it, and the fashion side of things to make them equivalent is so expensive of a blend.
There's a lot of softening with it. You can use enzymes. You can do all sorts of on the field dressings and things like that actually help start to break it down a little. Because the whole problem is that the fibers themselves are they're long and they're stiff, and they'll get supple after time. But you can, I've seen the improvements on hemp cloth over the years so rapidly, to the point where I had a little swatch that I started off with that was like nappy and like, look at this is hemp, bro. That was like my quest. And then it went from that all the way up to silk blends and all sorts of high end stuff.
I was at Headcase. We got so much shit for using Chinese hemp, and then there was Hungarian hemp.
Headcase. There's a good story. There's a diversion.
I made hats. I worked for Mitch Kahn, and we made your hats. That's how I met you. And
that was my very first hemp product that I would call like an actual, like I could reorder it product. It wasn't like just some hemp
one-off
thing, that some bracelet or some bullshit, but it was like.
So this is our
Headcase was the first product we had, and it was also the hardest thing to get the Americans or the Europeans to buy an American hat at that price.
It's a baseball hat. They don't even know from baseball.
Well, and the funny part is if you think about like Grassroots and all these companies now, they're like, bro, we got the hat flat. It's like Headcase was killing it way back in the day, like before any flat bills were out, before anybody had it. But they had like design. They had the under the bottom lid designs
and the hidden pocket.
So I mean, they pretty much were already fucking 20 years ahead of that whole new generation where it's like, and it's interesting to see because that company was definitely like a cool company at the time. Figured out that hemp actually is really useful if you're making high quality hats to begin with, because that's the biggest problem with hemp in general is that it's too high a quality to apply it to most applications. So you end up like, I'm going to grow document paper and I want to make toilet paper out of it. You're like, that doesn't really make sense. Yeah. You're better off to make toilet paper out of shit that's going to fall apart and be crappy, not a shit that's going to be 100 years and it's going to be a perfect document.
Well, I think the smart thing that Mitch did too is he bought hemp fabric and made it the hemp fabric into hats in America in a union shop in New Jersey, rather than farming it out to the Chinese to make the hats.
They couldn't do it.
I don't think they could have done it.
Not at that time.
And certainly not the right way,
And that was the thing is like, I remember like I had a fishbone hat and I had a few other ones that they did. So they were like on the same tip, doing bands and doing, doing cool things. And for me, it was like interesting because it was like, I tried to go to all the fucking shops like Bulldog and all the big ones. And I remember them all going like 11.
Yeah, 11. The price point.
That is so much, 11. And I'm like, 11, and it's literally the same price as a fucking Headcase hat right now. It's about $11. It's like it's the exact same price.
And they're charging $20 for their cheap, $3 hats basically now. So it's it's just a higher quality and it's hemp and that's how I met you basically. Is I was able to come to Amsterdam because I was bringing those hats over. And so, rather than us shipping them, it was cheaper to just take a trip over and bring them. And
so when the guy asks you at the airport if you packed your bags and if these are all your
samples, we had low minimums. So it was like 48 hats to you, 48 hats to Sensi Seeds, 48 hats to Gray Area, 48 hats here. We just spent the whole time running around with, 4 dozen hats for each different shop because we had low minimums and we embroidered them. I mean, they were, nice fancy hemp hats.
I don't know, they had some great design. Like I said, it was like definitely
it's how I got my start and how I met you.
And it's all going back.
I'm about to cry, you guys.
I would.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Well, it's all come back, and now hemp is all about CBD, right? I mean, now fabric, who cares? Seeds, who cares? It's really just about.
And that's
extracting the CBD from the flower.
I wouldn't say seeds.
Seeds. I mean seeds for food.
Oh yeah,
like
why would we want to do that?
Well, it was big.
So that's what I'm talking about. Like
Canada,
when we think about the different varieties of hemp that should be establishing. I want to see a competitor. I want to see somebody else like 3D printing tiled floors and like furniture. When it comes down to it, we're the only firm that's doing those types of things. And it's not like we're better than everybody. It's 3D printing. Somebody else go make a different hemp composite and become my competitor and sell that shit to IKEA. Like, there's a lot of advancement and opportunities out here, but we're so wound up over CBD. CBD is the byproduct. I should be able to contact somebody and say, what type of hemp variation do you have? And they say, we have fabric, we have plastic, we have whatever, and then break those components down and say, cool, then I need this amount of it from you, and whatever's left over, I'll buy for your CBD situation as well. That's the way that I envision this industry. I think a lot of the most people who really had a big backdrop within the advocism for hemp, that's the way they see it too. And we need those projects right now and products.
I think that's a great thing to talk about, because I think there are projects being diverted from things like building materials and bricks and things that you can make houses out of, because everybody wants to get on this CBD cash cow right now with the myth of the gajillion kilogram sale.
What do you mean myth?
Well,
you mean that's not out there?
Ben Dronkers in Holland has been doing, hempcrete and that kind of stuff, building materials, but it's very difficult.
I went to
it's cost,
the Hemp and Marijuana Extravaganza in 1998 at Condi's Redwood Lumber, sponsored by High Times. And there were people there that had sneakers and just things that you didn't think of. I mean, they really had bricks and boards, and they were talking about 10 times the tensile strength of steel.
90s.
Well,
where'd it go? It's gone now. I mean, everyone
right around 2000, it really kind of dropped off.
Well, the interesting part now is that we actually have now the ability to get enough hemp to start to make some real inroads, because up until now it's been like, all right, so you're going to grow, and then you're going to try to make something out of it, which is going to take a lot of material. It's not going to be a small amount, and it's kind of like cost prohibitive at that point.
And how do you process it?
Yeah.
But then if you get a certain point where you have a couple 100,000 acres going, and you're like, okay, well, for every 2.5 acres is like a 1,400 square foot home, you can start calculating that pretty good. Like, oh shit, that's like 2,000, 10,000, 4,000, 5,000 homes. Now we have some, something coming out of this, and it's weird though, because as it gets, because everyone's just hyper focused on CBD, just like they were hyper focused on weed.
Yeah.
And now the weed's not even interesting to people anymore because so much regulatory bullshit. You're like, well, I'd rather just grow fields of that and get paid that and not have to fucking trim it.
Like he's talking about this unicorn that's out there running around.
You better not expect to get pre-prohibition prices for it. You know what I mean? You better build into your business plan the fact that the cost is going to drop precipitously.
Of course. And if it's CBD, I mean, like it's funny to see people selling $30 pounds, of anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You're like, it's $30, even though it is hemp and maybe it's just a high CBD strain or whatever. But at the end of the day, when you start to compare that to the amount of input you need for just like a quarter acre, of cannabis with the amount of fencing and cameras and just bullshit necessary.
Yeah. But I don't care if a ton of hemp is grown, and even if it rots in the field. I think growing hemp is just good for the environment. Yeah. It's good for a lot of things. The market's going to find its level. Yeah. It's going to become commoditized. Yeah.
Says the guy who's not out there in the farm.
I'm not a farmer, Right. I mean, I can appreciate that. I mean, look at this industry. The cannabis industry was built on people who had a skill set that kept them secret, that they didn't have to share their knowledge with anybody. That was their skill. They could grow weed and nobody knew about it. Yeah. Now we're out of the shadows, and this is back to farming. Yeah. This is farming. We need to start looking at areas where they've been farming crops at just these huge ag levels.
And that's the nail on the head, because in every other division of agriculture, there is a price per acre that is understood across the board, no matter what state you're in. You know what you're making, essentially. We don't know that in this industry. Colorado's price point is different.
Nobody sells a future.
Yeah, because there's no supply chain that's been established. Everybody thought if you build it, they will come. And unfortunately, what you just said is true. I got a couple hundred people calling me every day, almost, asking if we can sell their hemp for them. And I was like, we offered you an opportunity to be a part of our network, but you guys decided to back out of it because you had your consultant who then ended up spraying Roundup or something crazy on your guys' grounds. And now you're calling me again. And we don't have the ability to play cleanup right now when we have everybody knocking on the door from big businesses of alcohol, tobacco, pharmaceuticals. They want in on this. They don't understand it because they're after that unicorn too.
Nobody's driving down the street.
Well, there's all these people looking for also like 100,000 kilos of hemp.
Well, and that's the unicorn we're always talking about.
But that's also like tire kickers who are just fucking with people at this point because they know there's not there. So they send. You can always tell because there's like 5 people with the same proof of funds.
Well, and
same this.
What do you mean? We talked about this. Go Google CBD isolate COA and click the images button.
Yeah.
I tell that to
you can have
everybody.
100 COAs.
You want a COA? Here you go. Proof of funds.
There's another one. Look at
Yeah.
all this cash with today's date on it. Like it's so
holding a newspaper.
Yeah, it's so silly. But that's the issue though, because the price point for CBD is so ridiculous that no paper company can ever equate to what the cost per pound is on this. So right now we have this understanding that everything else is the byproduct of CBD, and that's the stupidest like mentality for any of us to have. CBD in every other country, including China, which is what most people have inside of their products, because at the end of the day, we grew 72,000 acres. If you break that down to isolation and loss and everything else, you're looking at maybe 36,000 kilos that were developed in this country last year. So to assume that all those products and shops, and it's China isolate, and guess what their shit comes from, you guys? Seed and stock. Just the same way that I'm sitting here talking about this shit right here, we're making $360 million annually just last year. That's what the CBD market pulled off of chisolate. Not off of some science-based dude who's got 1 million fucking followers. No, it's off some shit that this dude bought for $3,200 for $100 and is now selling it out the door. So that's
also why they talk about like that it could have heavy metals.
Yeah.
It could be toxic.
Oh, it's seed and stock.
What do you mean? I have a COA that says there's no heavy metals in it.
Bro, it's clean, organic.
Can you print that out for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we really do need to start looking at the different variations of where the plant can be utilized. We have to talk to farmers and say, hey, you've been using these crops for so long. You've been exhausting your resources in your soil for so many years. Let's plant a crop, 2 or 3 variations in between each one of your crop cycles, and now we can remediate your soil. That byproduct can be utilized for another component. These people, especially in the U.S., the other parts of the world, it's their agriculture is agriculture. But in our country, we have people who are dying because they are spraying shit on their cotton. We have people who are overgrowing too much corn. It's not being used. So next year they cut them a check and say, here's your subsidy. We apologize. We don't need you to grow for us. And when you have the ability to sell your own product, you can make more money. When you get a check told that that's all your value is, that's a hard hit for a family who made a lot of money several years ago. So we have to transition these people. And in order for us to do that, that stupid unicorn needs to be unfantasized about like everybody's doing right now, and realize that we would need the supply to meet that demand. In order to do that, there's 20 years of data that needs to be compiled. So
and a lot of infrastructure for processing.
Yeah,
that's the overall bottleneck is going to always be. It's not that, I mean, not to say it's not hard to grow, but once it gets going, all of a sudden you have a couple 100 tons of product and you're like, what am I going to do with this
biomass?
And then you got to just process it, and you can only go at X amount per day, and people, and you're starting to look at degradation, and can't.
But I think in extraction too, this whole rush to ethanol, as everyone's saying that this is the way. This when you have a lot of hemp, you have to use ethanol, but ethanol has efficiency losses. And I'm thinking to myself,
and the recovery systems that they have are so inefficient. And we've tested the gas after they've recovered it, because I'm an asshole when it comes to testing. The pollutants that we pull out of it are now sitting inside of the leftover gas. So now the next time you go to use the reclaimed gas that you think you just saved a shit ton of money on, you're using everything from the chlorophyll and everything else that's left over in that gas again on a second batch. You think that second batch is going to be clean? That's not medical grade. I don't give a shit who you are.
I don't know why we're reinventing the wheel. Where's the guys from Merck and Pfizer who have been doing this for 40, 50 years telling our industry exactly how refined.
We got a project with Merck. I'm probably going to get in trouble for
let me tell you.
But we have a project with Merck that is working on right now a pharmaceutical application.
There's 15, 16 people listening to this right now.
No,
there's about 12.
It's like at least 12. Come on.
But those little projects that we're working on, these companies don't want to expose that it may be cannabinoid research. But at the end of the day, they're already involving themselves. They have projects in Uruguay. They have projects all across the world where they're tapping into these resources. They may not have it on their publicly traded companies, but there's a shell corp that owns some kind of umbrella corporation that has somebody else attached to it, and that's where they're getting their data. We need it in the U.S. We need these people, instead of getting on Instagram and trying to be a clout chaser, get your ass out there, start hitting the books, try to learn. Yeah, and actually create something.
So not that.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I'm next to the biggest ones ever.
I got 12 posts on Instagram or some bullshit. I
think I have more posts of
you can
my
post
kids
on
lately and my lady.
You can post? I thought you just put a picture up.
Whatever.
This is some inside baseball.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baseball. That was my
No,
because I am the
definitely.
You are
actually
not.
the Adam Dunn.
I know. I thought it was on the Adam Dunn show.
This is
How
not
do
the
you
Adam.
hit so many home runs?
They don't call me the donkey for nothing, bro.
So are you in the playoffs right now? So you don't shave during the playoffs?
Yeah, I never shaved during playoffs.
And the playoffs,
Yeah,
continuous.
forever.
Excellent.
What do I want to talk about? I mean, it's just for me. I'm on a reunion tour, right? So this is like just kind of wacky because again, like I haven't been here in 7 years.
Okay.
And 7 years is just about enough time for everyone to forget. It seems like you guys all forgot. Hey.
So this is just a reminder.
They're like, what? Huh? Yeah. Well, I think the rabbi look didn't really kind of threw everybody off.
You go with rabbi? Really? I used a different word, but man, you just...
Wow.
Yeah,
With the fedora, sometimes it's very.
I switched
but the
sides.
beard
I
screen,
switched
you
sides.
feel like you
Usually-
should have a yarmulke on.
Yeah, everyone used to think I was a terrorist, and now they think I'm a rabbi. So it's like, wow, that shows you how close those things are.
Right.
I'm just thinking you're going to spend a lot of time at TSA.
Yeah.
You know,
I
getting
always
searched
do.
and patted down.
Always do, dude.
Yeah, you smell like weed and look like a terrorist.
On the way in, I got fully searched at Heathrow.
He's also got the big metal like things, the earrings. And
Yeah. You're definitely suspect, sir.
Okay.
Danny's over here giving away your trade secrets. Right?
Danny's told everybody everything so far. That's pretty much it.
What did I say?
I heard something about his earrings.
I asked what you want to talk about.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
What are you interviewing me
It's
now?
a conversation.
What do you think this is, though? Fucking
This is not
free
high
weed
tide.
with
Yeah,
fucking
right.
Danny Danko?
Yeah, this is my show now.
Yeah.
It's a takeover.
The takeover.
It's a hostile takeover.
All right, start asking.
Wait, what's that called? It's a
No, it's a hostile takeover.
Yeah, it's a hostile takeover.
Coup?
Coup.
What
A reverse
merger.
merger. Yeah, I just
reverse mergered
mergered
your
show.
ass, bitch.
Now it's my show.
Somebody
by the
did that with my name and fortune. That sucks. I hate that.
Cue the Danko intro.
Some assholes decided to get me to write a business plan.
So I get on it.
I didn't know
I
about
took
PR.
over the Adam Dunn Show board of directors. You're out. I'm in, and it's done.
Done.
This is
Done.
the new done deal.
D-U-N-N.
It's a done deal. The new done deal.
Done.
It's
You
a
are
dank
You are
deal.
done.
You've been shit.
wow. He just wants,
This
Your
is
severance
my
package
show.
will
it's
be
just
in the
because
mail,
Danny doesn't. It's just because Danny knows that one day he may not be Danny Danko anymore. So
But you will always be the great baseball player Adam Dunn.
But he'll always be formerly known.
Oh,
as
definitely
Danny
formerly
Danko.
known as.
So,
That's
like,
going to be the title
know,
on all your shit.
We can always work that.
Always known as.
Sometimes
As long
that
as you
works
give that
better.
credit where
Sometimes that
credit's
actually
due.
works better because you get to actually put the thing
Prince made himself
that
a symbol.
That's what I'm
were
saying.
known as.
I'm just a pot leaf now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll just get you like.
I'm going to be the first one. There's no Prince of Pot, King of Cannabis. No, I'm just a pot leaf. I'm just a symbol.
Henry
Yeah.
Hemp, bro.
No, I'm just the leaf.
Henry Hemp
My
did
name.
that.
My
Henry
name
Hemp-
is the
Henry
leaf.
Hemp, bro.
Did he?
Leaf?
Henry.
Well, he just
I
walks
already-
around as a weed leaf.
I already.
He's not.
So
he
that's
is
an old
a
idea.
symbol himself.
I want to be
guess.
the Pol Pot of pot. Do you guys know about Pol Pot?
Yeah.
Cambodia.
Yeah, nice.
He
very nice.
man.
Well,
Very nice man.
yeah.
he took everybody from the cities
I like
and he
Elvis.
put them out into the country
Right,
to
yeah.
grow rice.
Yeah,
I'm
sure
just
he
going to put them out to grow weed,
Yeah,
cannabis, I should say.
That sounds like a plan to
free
me.
weed.
And everybody gets out of the cities. Everybody gets out into the countryside. They reconnect themselves with the land.
Free pot, right? Like
And they
Danny
grow-
free pot. Since he already
And
keeps
it's
this
free for everyone.
Yeah, free pot. Yeah, so-
But it's maybe a bad idea. He killed 2 million people along the way. So I mean that as a
probably
joke.
just bad
I mean,
handling skills.
I
guess, or
mean
something
that
like
100% as a joke. So if anyone's offended, like
Don't
get it.
write in. Please don't write in.
Oh, there
It's late, you guys.
And if
Yeah,
you do, write
early.
into the baseball
time's-
player Adam Dunn's
Adam
podcast.
Dunn, yes.
yeah, he's definitely the guy. You want to talk to.
Don't you have to
One
thank
end.
anybody? Who pays for this show?
I do have to think. I have two. Well, right out of the gate, I have one big one. Illumin. You know these guys?
Luminary, of course.
Of course you do,
Of
right?
course I do.
Your sponsors on the show. They bought us a new computer, which is making our show look way better than normal because we have cameras that didn't work.
Wait, there's video?
Look at that. Yeah.
Of course.
Look at holy shit! I would have been looking better.
That's awesome.
It was analog the last time I was on. They didn't have this computer or anything like. He's got multiple screens. We're on camera.
It was on a record
Cameras. We're on cameras, bro.
It was on a
Yeah,
record.
that's how I feel now.
Are you getting me from my good side?
Yeah, you just tricked me.
The last time you were on the show, it was cut to a record. You had to listen to it.
I always just call in. Adam's like, "Hey,
I
someone
just listen to it
canceled.
on
I
a
need you to
phonograph.
talk." So I just make a phone call.
Yeah.
I didn't know we get videotape.
Hey, you know,
I have called
we
in a
do
few
try.
times.
We do try.
Yeah.
ISDN? Do you
I've
call
called in.
or
I was at the
regular
So
one?
High studio.
I'll tell you one
I
thing though,
did-
we're fucking way more consistent than your show. That's for sure.
Well, that's true. I've been on
I think this is where the
hiatus.
beef starts, bro. I think
You
this is
have a
when we
show?
start the beef right now.
Sure,
I think it's-
Oh, the fake
Oh.
beef. Did I say? No, the real
Yeah.
beef.
Oh, great.
Was that the only sponsor?
Yeah,
Hold on.
yeah.
Go
Yeah.
back to
Blow our
Luminaire.
whole entire
Luminaire.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
My
Yes.
show
Yes.
may be infrequent, but it is
Oh, we had some diss
You know,
action going on here.
Oh,
It's
quality.
important. Diss action's way more
And
important than
it's-
that.
Well, it's like, what we
It's
have
an
to do is
East
cut
Coast
to the
show.
commercial, like in a reality TV show. They're like, "No, fuck you, you're the bitch," and then it's like, "Dun dun dun." Back in 2 minutes.
Illuminar.
We're okay now.
Let's talk about Illuminar.
Fantastic lights.
Yes.
I mean, they're not paying me to say this either.
Lamps.
They are wonderful LED lighting solutions and systems.
They're IL1.
And it took me a long time to come around to LEDs. I'm sure it took you a while too.
It still does. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still coming around to them because there's
You need
still
a
a lot of
little more
crappy ones out there.
Oh yeah.
But I certainly would not lump
So
them.
Illuminar is our newest sponsor. These are our premier sponsors too.
I don't even think you have to hold it up anymore. I think you can just put the video straight up now.
Oh,
Shout
On your
out
new
to
device.
Mario
That's
Raz.
cool.
I'm just trying to show that I actually got the catalog here and everything. Did I?
Shout out
That's
to
high
I
tech.
did my job. But what?
What?
What? Illuminar.
cut.
What is it? IlluminarLighting.com or is it? Do we know? That's it. How did I know that? I just made that up.
Illuminar lighting.
great.
Literally
Rolls
made
off the
that
tongue.
One L, one M.
Yeah, that's the part that screwed me up. I was always spelling it with two L's because thinking like
Magazine editor.
license to ill, of course, right?
They snuck the word lumen in
Doing
here
his
in
job.
a really amazing way.
Let me check
Wow.
that copy.
I like it.
You like it? You like that?
Well, I mean, the branding's great, but the lights are great. That's the important thing.
It is the important thing, and they got good crew. They got Mr. Scott Ruby on board there, so
Scott Ruby,
so you know what's going
long
on.
time, grow industry vet.
His pops and him, they've been killing it for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I gotta give it to him.
And so they got a good team on board. They got
Boy,
great
Mario.
products, and I think
Hashtag Maz keeps it real on Facebook.
exactly for
That's a
sure.
long one.
Yeah.
But no, they just have a good team and a good product, so they're going to work well. And I think right now too, the lighting game is sort of changing. It's at that like renaissance moment where technology is finally catching up. Price points are starting to make sense. A couple years ago, you'd be like, "What, $2,000 for an LED that covers the same as a 600-watt light?" Nah, it's not really going to do it, is it? Like, it wouldn't make sense. Even if the bulb lasts for the rest of your life, because by the time you decided that was old technology, which would be a couple years down because everything just evolves.
Mhm.
We went from little diodes to big diodes to like lens diodes, and it just like every time it's like anything else, you'd be like stuck for more than a couple of years. But I think especially with veg and certain areas, if you can find that right sort of quality and that right depth and spectrum and everything, it's game changer as far as changing it. Your veg is the most important part. If you do a good veg,
Short
everything seems to work.
Short internodes and
Just
that's-
good starting points.
And the cool thing about LEDs too is, obviously you can keep them closer to the canopy because they don't generate as much heat.
Yeah.
The electrical, costs are much lower. But like you said, like
Well,
that
it's literally the leaf temperature that's really important on the LEDs because
leaf surface.
the leaf surface temperature is is like 8 degrees lower than with HID lighting. So 8 degrees, meaning you can tweak your system. You can let your room not be quite as cold, bring it up 5 to 8 degrees, and it will run just as efficiently as it would have with having to have more control on your temperature plus more light in general. So you're thinking about the wastage there combined with everything above. And I think also when you're just doing veg, people overdo it a lot of times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't help in the long run. Slow and steady sort of at that point.
Also, when you hang, a hot, HID light, whether it be high pressure sodium or ceramic metal halide or whatever, you kind of hang it up and you let the plant grow to it, and it ends up stretching. With LEDs like this, you can drop them just a few inches up above the canopy, so you're constantly raising and lowering them, and I think that really keeps your internet.
Gives you something to fuck up.
Yeah. Well, it gives you it gives you something to do, but it makes you more aware of that distance from the light to the plant, so you're not like, you're constantly kind of like adjusting it, and whether it's the light is set and you're lowering.
And honestly, if you've been watching a lot of the trends on the Instagram thingamajigger, a lot of these kids,
I believe they say it's on the
Dad
gram.
kids.
On the gram, as
kids.
it goes down in our DMs. These kids that are posting up there's always like some mutation that they're like trying to like showcase, and there's always some like bleached plant that they're like, oh, look at this bleached variation of plant, and a lot of that is because they grew up knowing that structure of increasing and decreasing the depth of the light, and they're still bringing those LEDs to those areas and levels without realizing you can do it a couple of inches and you're still getting that same efficiency. And so because of that, the lack of knowledge, they're watching some dude from 1999's videos on YouTube about how to grow, and they're just watching the light structure, not paying attention to, is it HPS, is it LED, what type of actual technology is this? And so that's why we're seeing a lot of these things. It's not because they're super cool and they're doing a bunch of research. They fucked up their plant and they're trying to show it off as like, look at my research. And honestly, each one of us in this room knew when we saw something wrong with our plant, it was not braggable. It was like, oh, fuck, I got to get rid of that limb, or I got to get rid of this plant, or I got to do something so nobody finds out I'm an idiot.
I want to share it with all 12
And now,
of my followers.
and now like 12,000 followers are like,
That's me.
that's
I have 12
beautiful.
followers.
And I'm like, light bleaching is beautiful. I'll sell you all that shit.
Trying to compete with my base. I have 12.
Let's talk about THCs or something.
Yes.
Oh, we could talk about THCs. It was a little. What's that?
Keep going with the shows.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's continue it.
Are we talking about Illuminar?
Okay, well, we were, but we can move on.
Nice.
New Millennium?
New Millennium?
You familiar with them?
The nutrient company?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay, well, that's our next sponsor right there, my friend. NewMillenniumNutrients.com. Check their store finder out. Check out their calculator on there if you want to figure out what you need for your initial crop with these guys. And if you're already using them, you know what I'm talking about. It's like kind of a, at the end of the day, when it comes to large scale growing, or even, you can do this at home too, but you really want to have people who have had years of experience. And like, the thing about New Millennium is they're a new company, but they're not new crew at all. It's all old school. It's like guys who were there at the very beginning of the nutrient game, and before it all kind of got dissected, and to the point where like now you see one product that could have been one, now it's three, because people have figured out like, well, if you get somebody on this and you make them do this, and then they have to do this, and this, and
it's the Amway of nutrients.
Well, and just a lot of times like the companies that will go unnamed, but lots of small bottles of wasted money where you could, like, it still grew good weed. Don't get me wrong, just was a little bit like designed to keep you in the dark almost, like by over, breaking it down almost too much. But no, their products are on point, and I've been using them like 4 years now, 3.5, 4 years. Mom loves it. That's the most important.
That's all that matters.
Hashtag Mom loves it.
Yeah.
The key with any brand really is feeding properly, not overfeeding.
Yeah.
And
timing. Yeah. It's all like little, like if you hit them at the right day with even the smallest amount of stuff, it's almost like you just like turn something on at that point, and then the plant can do the rest. It's not so much like what you're giving to them is doing it. It's more like, oh, it's a trigger. Like, bam, that one. Oh, now it knows what's going on. Like their decision product is really good, because most companies don't have a sort of in between thing. They have like, you're flowering, or you're vegging, then you flush, then you hit them with flower.
It's for the in between stage.
That transition phase.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
And that product's called Decision. That's a good one. And that's very unique. And then they have a really good fulvic acid product, which is 9 sources of fulvic acid, which is like, there's not even that many it's not that many sources on the planet, actually. It's not an easy to come by thing. So it's one of those, like, they really sourced out the best. And just because you have so many going in at once, there's no way you're not getting what you need.
I thought I saw fulvic acid at the Whole Foods, but I guess I'm mistaken.
No, you could have, but it wouldn't be a little bit different than for people than plants, but not totally. But drink it.
I love it. Hey?
When you see it, just drink the whole thing, dude. I'm telling you,
I'm not going to do
It's
it.
amazing. It's
But-
a good belly flush.
I brought this too.
You
They're
brought
your
that?
sponsor, right?
Yeah. Well, you brought that with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow,
wanted,
man.
I wanted to bring it to Spain.
What would you?
I
have
told
done?
you,
Branding
Bob. This
expertise.
man is in love with you, Bob.
I love that company.
I
They're
love
a
Bob.
sponsor.
They are a
Incredible.
sponsor.
Our friends, we have
Our friends. Yes.
as well over there. A bunch of friends.
iloveincredibles.com if you want to check out their website. Also, longtime sponsors of the Adam Dunn Show, and in my opinion, the best edibles, definitely in Colorado. And I'll put them up against anybody, anywhere. Just consistency's there, the flavors are there, the very they have a lot of good products, not just candy, but they have bath bombs, and they have,
Mints, tarts, chocolates.
this is the guy right here.
Strawberry.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
No, they have
keep talking about
cartridges.
food.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. No. They
they
have
have-
seasonal bars.
They partnered with ChemDog and
Did they what now?
did they do a vape thing?
They did. They did a lot.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, they're again always doing their own processing with their own machines that they built themselves too. So their extraction machines are in-house built. Their strains are in-house. I was over there to see Derek the other day. He's creating all the molds with 3D printers and stuff, and they're really fat. Like he's got proper every single candy has its individual warning on it, so built in with the molds and stuff. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to D Money.
yep, always pushing it hard.
And Max.
Of course.
All our incredible friends at Incredibles.
And it's funny because I went to the old office and I didn't know they had a new office, and it was when places they're busting out already, they've already, where it used to be the office is now production, and you walk in, you're like, damn, there's not an inch left in this place. The people crammed in every corner, just cranking away. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's good to see. But again, iloveincredibles.com, check them out online. And
That's another thing people don't realize is all the incredible hoops that these companies had to jump through.
Yeah.
Did you say incredible? Did you say incredible what?
Yeah, that was a double
Incredible hoops.
Wow.
And
I
regulations.
love how you just brought it in.
Well,
Over.
We were talking about
over
It's incredible.
regulation.
That's incredible how you did that.
Oh,
Did I just do
Well,
that?
to manage
Oh
to
my God.
continue to create an incredible product
Yeah.
and do it, like you said, with stability. Because, every harvest is different, everything is different, so you have to really learn dosage.
Oh, look at this.
wow.
Man, yeah.
That's
One
I am
down.
out. Ed Rosenthal, get in
I'll
here.
take off.
Ed.
I'll give Ed my seat. So I can roll a couple.
Yeah, he just Ed Rosenthal
He's
just
like, I don't
walked
wanna
in
come
and
up here.
disagreed
No one's
with us
paying.
about everything.
Of course he did.
Stop curing your weed.
Would we didn't talk your agent ahead of time?
You guys, thank you for having me. I'm gonna let Ed get up.
Thanks, Jen.
You gotta say that on the mic.
Ed, that's a microphone.
Yeah, Bobby too. I'm gonna let these guys.
Oh,
someone
look at
else
this.
come in.
Oh, no, you're not.
Am I staying on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get up.
I'll stay on. Yeah.
Bobby can come down. Yes, look at Bobby over here.
Thank you.
You can slide in. You can slide in closer to me.
All right. Are we still rolling?
Of course we're rolling. You think we're gonna stop the show for you? Come on.
This
now.
is like you're
Never
like
stops.
Howard Stern of cannabis. You just go hours and
It's pretty
pissing
much
people
what
off,
we do. Yep, pretty much. That's
telling the truth about everything.
truth seekers.
Are you
No,
on pause?
no, of course not.
Are we live?
We are live. You are here.
All the way live.
Did anybody ever die on your show?
Not yet.
Because then it would be a live dead.
I've seen people come and go though.
There's been a few close calls.
Howdy.
Hey,
Well, look at this. We just unexpectedly had some cannabis royalty roll in the house. That's, of course, Bobby Black. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
We're democratic socialists here. Okay, we're not monarchists.
Bobby Black and Mr. Ed Rosenthal. First, you're like one of the first guys I saw here when I got here at the hotel there. I was like, bam, right out of the gate.
that's it.
You know this is a party when Ed's in there.
I mean, you got to give it up for the grow guru Ed Rosenthal. Mentor to any grower all growers and breeders and everyone who smokes cannabis owes a huge debt of gratitude to Ed Rosenthal.
Now send $1 to
or a gram of weed.
or a gram of weed. Oh, those are Oregon prices, right?
So, Ed, what was the impression on the first day at the Spannabis? Give us your honest.
First, first I was to the ICBC, and that was really great. I mean, it didn't have a lot of booths or anything, but it was speakers, and it was a really good group of speakers on relevant subjects covering new ground. So that was really good. And today, I really didn't get to see much of the show because people wanted to have discussions with me about different things.
Bastards want to talk to you.
Yeah,
They choose.
yeah, and you have to smile and act like you're interested. And, look
You just
them in the eye.
put your ear pods in, and then you pretty much.
I hope
you're allowed
nobody's
to just
listening,
not
so
pay
they don't
attention to
hear
anybody.
this.
Oh yeah, nobody listens.
No, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's Adam's show.
Less than nobody's listening right now.
We're in the underground. We're back in the underground.
In 10,000 years, it's going to hit another planet because all these broadcasts are going up there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's my hopes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm pretty much doing.
And
show
then
for,
the
actually, at this point.
I'm big on Alpha Centauri.
How are we going to get your
Hit that
seeds?
button.
How are we going to get your seeds up there, though? Do you know Elon Musk?
Yeah, sort of.
Capsules.
He
man.
just got high.
Capsules.
Didn't he just get high?
He got high on
Send
Joe
probes
Rogan's
out.
show.
Send probes
Yeah,
up
but
there.
nobody listens to
It'll
that either.
vibrate when it's ready. It should be coming up soon.
He got high on Joe Rogan's show, but nobody listens to that
It
either.
cost $68 billion or something ridiculous. So his stocks went like 20% down.
I respect
There you go.
that as a boss move.
Yeah.
Do I
mean,
break
that's,
everything?
To me,
No,
Oh, there
More
it is.
people need to stop being ashamed. And
if
just
you're
be who
worth
they
that
are.
kind of money and you can be that much of a visionary,
That's
wrong
fuck you
is
money,
right,
man.
and
That's
all
fuck
that.
you money.
Oh yeah.
Am I allowed to cuss on this show?
Of course.
Fuck no.
Cuss. I don't know about cussing, but you can
Is this
swear.
thing on?
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
It is. It is on.
How you doing?
Hey. So the other one was, where was that at in the end? Did you figure that out? Because I know you were on your way when I saw you last time. Where was that location completely off? What they said?
ICBC?
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was there at the fair
It's what I told you, didn't I?
where the awards were.
I knew
It was hard to find.
It was the truth. I
It
knew
was
I was.
the truth.
There you go. I just wanted to know. I was like,
Yeah,
how
it
was
was
that?
the truth.
He was
Yeah.
like, nah, it's not even
That's
close
important.
to that spot. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's at the same place.
It's important we get the truth out there. There's a lot of falsehoods out there, and there's a lot of things, floating around. Everybody's trying to make a quick buck, but we know there's not a lot of quick bucks to be made.
Well, it's
The hustle's narrowing.
it's interesting though, but it also changes. So just when you think it's
Different
dead,
quick bucks.
when you
Right.
think it's dead, all of a
That's
sudden
what-
there's a new whole angle where you're like, how many hundreds of millions do you want? Like, holy shit. Okay, this is another game that didn't even exist 3 years ago where it's like, feminized CBD seeds, $1 a pop. You know what I mean? When that happened, I was just like, are you kidding me right now? Like, wow. Because over here, people took it were a little more realistic when it came to seed prices because they had been doing enough quantities and stuff. So you could pay 20 cents a seed or something like that. You know what I mean? And even feminized were that cheap because people were cranking them out so hard.
It's not what they cost to make. It's what value are they to the farmer.
Right.
So that's how it's priced. What will the farmer pay
Right
rather
now-
than the cost basis?
Also, as far as longevity in the industry, we have a lot of that at the table, and a lot of that comes with being able to see scams for what they are,
Right.
and say, "Oh, this is a scam." No, this is an innovation. This is actually going to change the game. But when you're able to discern those two things from each other, I think it helps you to navigate your way and have longevity and authenticity.
Or you could just write a book about something new and that would probably...
Not dying. Not dying helps too.
Not dying helps. That's a good one.
Yes.
Well, speaking of writing books, Ed's written, more than a
I
dozen.
was jabbing both of you at that time. That was
I've only
that was
written
I
two.
have a new book coming out.
No
Amazing.
way.
Double burn.
Double.
Marijuana Garden Saver 2.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, the last two were amazing because there's a hashish concentrates, updated with all the, and harvesting guide, which is so important. I mean, to the quality of the cannabis,
What's where most people fuck it all up.
Exactly.
And Danny, you have a new book out too.
That's right, a beginner grow book meant really for entry level people just getting started, and so that even a grandma or whoever can just read it and grow. There's 6 plants. That my vision was everybody sees corporate cannabis coming. None of us are idiots. It's all coming. They're here, right? It's happening, and there's a lot of mids out there. But if you want great cannabis, you either have to grow it yourself or ally yourself in a co-op kind of situation, a mom and pop kind of thing where it's locally produced, it's made in a small batch, and
it's going to be like that with everything.
If you want the best aficionado connoisseur quality, artisanal, and that's Ed changed the world with the books.
But I don't necessarily agree with that. Let me explain. So I'm
speaking just about craft flower.
I would never expect you to
concentrate or anything.
No. I'm talking about craft flower. Now, I'm not going to talk about cannabis. I'm going to talk about you going to a box store and picking up a poinsettia plant or some other plant that's in the flower pot is in a tray of maybe 6 or 8 containers if they're small, and you pick that up and you take it to the cashier. You're the first person to ever touch that pot or the plant because
going to India.
It's probably from Holland.
I've visited Canadian gardens where there's no human interaction with the plant.
That's right.
Yeah, it's all robotic.
And if you do it and you have proper sensing and measuring systems and production systems, the thing about those plants, you look at that poinsettia or the ornamental pepper plant or something like that, every one of them is perfect. They look the same. And they're beyond craft. Right. And they're perfect.
And they come out of tissue culture also, right? Like they're not clones that we take, like traditional clones.
They may come out of tissue culture. They may come seeds. Out of no, not usually. They come out of
micropropagation,
something like that.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening in this industry anyway. So ultimately, you could have, for instance, I was in a greenhouse that was growing bedding plants, and I said, "Where are the people?" And there were no people; it was all robotic. And yet, those plants were perfect because there were sensors to figure out what the plants needed. So I think that craft, let me put it this way. I'll put it in terms of knitting. You get a sweater, and it's perfect. All the weaving, all the knitting is perfect. It's machine made.
Right.
And the craft has little mistakes in it. It's a little one knot is a little different than the next knot.
But at the same time, my counter argument is that for the person with their 6 or 12 plants in their little tent or whatever, they're taking so much care with each plant, and they're hand watering and they're maintaining that plant so well that the interaction that they have with it is better for the plant in the end than no human interaction at all. Not because they're not multiplying it on a huge scale. They're not scaling up to those big places.
Well, these big places are sensing each individual plant.
Right. But these guys, what I mean is that there's no overfeeding. There's no whatever might happen on that large scale.
Yeah.
You're in control of that when you grow it yourself in a smaller scale. So certainly the quality of cannabis can improve, when it's grown in a large.
I think the main thing is going to be just like anybody who wants to consume quality products of any sort is going to have to be in control, or at least be really sure that it's done properly, because everything is written natural or whatever, and it's natural just doesn't do shit anymore. So there's certain things that are all just made to make you think things are done well, but at the same time, pretty hard to believe any of it now. So.
You know that some farm operations on very large farms are controlled from a central office that might be running 10 or 12 farms, and the tractors are run by GPS.
Sure.
And
Well,
the entire thing is
drones that can
sensors.
identify males and shit like that. So.
Well,
I feel like that's the kind of stuff that people are going to be making into distillate and concentrates, and I don't think that's the flower market. I don't know.
I'm saying that I think
it might be for like the Marlboro.
Well, of course,
no,
yeah. That's not what I'm
you
buying.
might
That's
think
not
that,
what I'll be.
But you try to grow that poinsettia plant as perfectly as is being done through these automatic systems. Just try it. Just try to grow one of these plants. These systems provide everything that the plant needs when they're working.
Except all the love.
I've seen enough to still.
Plants have been growing for millions of years without human love.
That's true.
The trees, they didn't get any hugging.
So we don't have to play music to that?
They didn't get any. The music was the wind, and the bear claws were the hugs. So look,
Right.
we're all. The main thing is that the plant gets exactly what it needs when it needs it, and with automation, that's far easier to do. Now, I'm not putting down people growing 6 plants, and even if those plants are 15-pound plants, I'm not putting that down. I'm not putting that down at all. But I'm saying in terms of commercial propagation, that people say, oh, the craft is always going to be better. I just don't think so. I think that plants have a mechanistic response pretty much, and so that if they're given the exact conditions that they prefer, they'll do better.
Yeah, I can see it on a commercial scale, but again, there's no reason to automate small scale, obviously. So
I'm not putting down hand watering and
home grow.
Totally
I've seen enough. I've seen enough apocalyptic sci-fi movies that the idea of Robo-Crop is a little scary to me. Like eventually, the garden will assimilate me.
Did you see that one where
I don't want AI in my
a 3D printer garden one where
I did see it.
That 3D printer stuff bugs me out.
But it was just
it's crazy
million
stuff
square
they do
foot
with that
greenhouse
thing.
in Canada where everything's automated and all,
Yeah.
and all that technology came from Holland and
Yeah.
Denmark and the big greenhouses that produce lettuce and all tomatoes and all that. So yeah, I mean, it's true that you can get quality, but
I mean, you can get again, it's going to come down to if it's grown long enough, faded out enough. A lot of times it's like living in Holland. They grew for looks mostly, and they grew for smell. Effect wasn't really the highest part of the deal, and so that the most important part to them was how it looked in the bag, how quickly it grew, and just those. And that's what I think you'll end up with when you end up automating everything, because you're really basing everything at that point. Obviously you want good selection of genetics at the beginning. That's up to somebody else. But
well, they didn't have a discerning. You serve your market, and they didn't have a discerning audience or consumer base, and still don't,
because they mix with tobacco.
Right.
Problem.
So it's hard to discern the quality.
Tobacco's dry, so the weed could be wet, and tobacco burns, out the mistakes that are in the cannabis. But that comes from hash culture.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The reason they mix weed with tobacco is because they always had hash to mix with tobacco.
It's funny because we were talking about the other day, and there was a big complaint that we couldn't, you can't smoke in the coffee shops after 2022 or something. And we were like, really? That doesn't make any sense. And then we found out that it was tobacco they couldn't smoke, and we were like, oh, well, fuck.
I love it. Now the coffee shops have rooms.
Finally.
Now they have rooms where you have to go if you want to smoke tobacco.
But
you can smoke
cannabis anywhere. They don't allow, greenhouse.
22. We still have another.
Greenhouse does not allow tobacco.
Also, okay, already. Okay, they're adapting.
I love the sign that says no tobacco, cannabis only.
Yeah. Well, that actually happened for a short time, and then it kind of just fizzled back to where it was for a little while.
Well, there were rooms in coffee shops, glassed-in kind of rooms where people would go and smoke tobacco, right? Yeah. For a while, those are gone.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Right. Well, you're in Colorado.
I'll be back on Monday.
What's Colorado like right now?
It sucks.
Yeah.
When it comes,
people are selling their licenses.
There was two social clubs that are allowed. One of them was the coffee joint, and that's okay, but it's in a really like difficult to get to area, kind of industrial, not the greatest spot. And then the second one that opened up was an arcade with a really nice bar set up, and they had it all looking like it was going to be a success. Went 1 month, and they folded. And I'm like, what kind of a business would fold after? How do you,
Wow.
You're not going to make money for the first year anyway. So,
Right.
But yeah, so it's really like that's two. That's it. The entire state.
I really think social use is what we really got to, focus on in the near future.
I'm enjoying the clubs here in Barcelona.
Well, it's
not a
simple.
bad system,
It's like
it seems like.
you give people a safe place to smoke. Cool people tend to gravitate towards each other. You always end up with like eclectic mixes, but at the same time with a common, theme in a sense. Obviously, being cannabis, but States, it seems like everybody's kind of so uptight on the dram alcohol, insurance bullshit and all that kind of stuff that everybody's really focused on liability more than on the reality of what it's like to get a couple hundred stoners in a room together. It's not that big of a deal.
Just give people a chill place to sit and blaze
and ventilate properly,
all.
so it's not just bothering anybody, or At the end of the day, it's like you're being sort of conscious about it. Like, hey, wow, I got real good ventilation here for once. Instead of like, I was thinking about Amsterdam. It was funny. The places had the worst ventilation, worst airflow. No back door to run out of the place. It's always like you're down to one steep stairs. Like everything about it was never pass any kind of inspection in any kind of place.
Can we get the wheelchair up these stairs?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's nice. Seems really nice here so far. The places we've been, this place is great. A few other spots that are really cool. And
Bobby, you've been to Barcelona before.
Yeah, this is like my fourth or fifth time coming to Barcelona. But it's my first time at Spannabis. Okay. So that's and I've barely even begun to look around the place because we were here so late.
I was telling everybody we were here till like 4.
Yeah,
4 or 5,
and so I ended up sleeping in today, but I didn't get to see too much of the convention yet. But I'm excited for tomorrow. And yeah, the clubs here are so great, and we're working on trying to build out some cool travel packages for Barcelona, so stoners can come out here and check things out for themselves.
Yeah, what happened to April? She
was here. I think she went to probably go socialize.
Socialize.
Yeah.
Social club.
But
what you got there?
Jonas Blunt.
Now, here it's called Platinum Girl Scout cookies, but you guys can probably discern what it is a little better.
All right. Dab stars.
I think I'm going to go grab a drink if that's cool, Jonah.
No,
if you want.
Sorry, you can't do that. I'm not sure you're trapped.
Yeah, I can step out if you want to jump anybody in here.
Yeah, whatever. Don't get all run away on
me. You tell me. Man.
I can come back. I just leave somebody else a shot. All right.
Go get yourself a drink.
All right.
Join me again. That's not a problem.
I'll be back.
All right, come on back.
Bobby Black.
Jonah will definitely jump in because he knows.
I like doing cameos.
Of course he will. We just keep it rolling.
Anytime Bobby gives you an intro, you gotta jump on that.
Yeah.
Wait.
What's going on?
We got Ed Rosenthal here.
Is that Ed? Oh yeah, I forgot.
We got the legend Ed Rosenthal.
Rosenthal.
Listen, we all owe a huge, huge debt of gratitude to Ed Rosenthal. If you're the, pot nerd grower,
send $1 to
or 1 gram,
or 1 gram,
or buy 1 book, right?
Yeah,
with our dollar here in America.
But no joke. I mean, at a time when things there was a very different landscape. Obviously, in this country, 45 years ago, was when High Time started. He was doing it even before that, and part of that, that founding and all of that foundation. I got to give it up to Ed Rosenthal.
Well,
the Guru.
I'll
Guru of Ganja.
I'll tell you why I did it. I was in the Yippies, and one of the big things was getting out of the Vietnam War. And the Vietnam War ended, and we turned our attention to changing the social system through cannabis. So Dana Beal was one of the theorists of this. And so we started these smoke-ins where people would, there'd be a lot of music, and then we'd give people political lectures. And we went on tours of smoke-ins around the country. And this was at a time when, you could take a large auditorium and put all the activists in the United States in that auditorium.
You're talking about early 70s, 72, 73?
Early 70s. You couldn't get, newspapers wouldn't cover rallies. There'd be rallies right in front of their offices sometimes, and they wouldn't cover it. That their employees were sort of blocked from going in, and they wouldn't cover it.
Well,
that
it's
no
what
radio
Nixon was
station
afraid
would
of.
no radio station would cover it. So it was really a personal thing where people went out, and we had these smoking tours. So,
well, I think right now would be the worst time to redo them.
But I'm telling you why I got into it. So here's why I got into it: is I thought that if enough people smoked cannabis, we'd become a more peaceful country. And when you talk about the United States, it's like this. Before they had independence, the colonies fought with each other. For instance, Vermont's Green Mountain Boys were meant to repel the New York militias. Then the colonies fought the British. They fought the Native Americans. They conquered other
Mexicans,
countries.
French.
They conquered other countries like the Hawaii. Now we're in.
Puerto Rico.
Hasn't been a day since the United States existed that it hasn't had a military action of some kind that was major, hurting other people. So I thought, and most yippies thought, we've had enough of this. So we thought, if we get enough people smoking marijuana, we'd have a more peaceful country. Now, that hasn't worked so far. The United States right now is in war with 13 countries. But I think we have to go from an alcoholic country to a cannabis-centric country. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, there's going to be a lot more peace in the world. I mean,
we have created a peace culture.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Culture.
And we just have to spread it. And so many of the hippie mores and mores have become part of center society. Sex before marriage, people living together without being married, women,
organic food,
organics, the whole ecological and environmental movements, women's rights. Mm-hmm. All avocado of these things. Toast. Right, all of those things came out of a different diet. Mm-hmm. All of that came. Things that are now being accepted by society. And now we have the two last ones, which is the sovereignty of alcohol, which is subsidized by the government and should not be subsidized. And what I mean is, if they put taxes on alcohol that equaled the cost of the hospitalizations and deaths caused by alcohol, it would be 3 or 4 times the cost. Right. So that's one thing. And then, if the country was cannabis-centric, there'd be a lot less violence. And we can show that scientifically, since violence has gone down so much in Colorado and also in certain California cities. So that's violence at home. And we have to, I'm not talking about bring the troops home the way Trump is talking about it, but we have to stop being this violent, aggressive, aggressor country that is violating all human rights. We have a siege on several countries, like the siege on Syria and the siege on Venezuela is driving people to death. I mean, a siege, it's an act of war. A siege is an act of war. So that's what we have. We have these undeclared wars all over the world. And I'll tell you what my solution for some of this is. I think, for instance, in the Middle East, I think that we should carpet bomb the Middle East.
I thought we were smoking weed.
Wait a second. What we should carpet bomb it with is with pre-rolls, lighters, and munchies.
There you go.
And enough protein so people can think correctly. Because they've been starving all of these peoples all over the Mideast, literally starving them to death. And we should have these carpet bombings every day. And imagine a warrior for any side of it. They get the joint, they smoke it, and they go, I hate those other sides. They're not even human. They should all die. We should go get them. let's do it tomorrow.
That's good
The great
jokes. I love it.
pacifier.
What about psychedelics? What are your thoughts on psychedelics?
Oh, you know what? I think that American troops should do psychedelics
We'll add that to the carpet bombing.
after the guns are locked away.
Lock away the guns and then give them a bunch of acid and mushrooms.
I think mushrooms more than acid.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Are you going to
We
speak
tried
to our
that. We already
Valentine's
tried
Day?
the
We tried the acid.
We tried the acid thing. It didn't quite work.
Those are
out
some
as well.
wild videos where the guys are on,
Yeah.
the soldiers
So-
are on
And
acid.
just laughing.
You know, I'm not talking about microdoses, but maybe not total hallucination. Maybe just get their brains thinking faster than they can comprehend it. And
We
stuff
split
like
about a
that.
half ounce over Valentine's Day. And
What
then walked
about
home
what
with
about
some-
your personal thoughts?
You're accusing me of using psychedelics in Hawaii. Is that?
I think you might have been poisoned against your
Listen, I think you were too stoned to understand that situation.
It could have been. It could have been.
Yeah, I don't know how those mushrooms disappeared.
Ed also has interesting ideas about curing cannabis. Right?
Well, first of all, most cannabis isn't sick, so it doesn't have to be cured.
You got him on a roll now. You're going to have to do that.
I'm his like
Yeah,
his straight man.
You got it.
I'm just
You're
throwing,
the
I'm throwing
here's the-
softballs up there.
Here's what you were talking about. So, people take the pot and they dry it to a certain extent, and then they put it in a container, maybe a glass or steel or something like that, and they, here.
No, not to you.
Oh, so I need a light here. They put some glasses. And then they burp it, and what they're doing, there's pressure built up, and all these smells and everything. And what's actually happening is that as the pot is losing moisture, the relative humidity in the container is going up, which makes it an ideal area for bacteria to thrive. And first you have the aerobic bacteria. And after all the oxygen is gone, the anaerobic bacteria start. And those are the ones that have the ammonia smell.
They decompose it.
They brown it.
Mhm.
And so the thing is that, yes, you should once you dry it a little drier than it should be, and then you bring it up to about 62% humidity in the room, and it will be perfect. And you want about 12%, which is a cracking.
Right.
So
So
cure it
that-
hanging, don't cure it in the jar.
Or hanging, or on shelving, whatever you're
right.
doing. But you don't have to move it from the room. All you have to do is change the conditions in the room,
Mhm.
so you don't have to touch it. Remember, every time you touch it, you're losing
Degrading.
glands,
This is
right?
what the kids call a hot take. 'Cause, it's a completely right. And you also said that
We
you think,
rehearse this. This is totally rehearsed. Don't
There are
think that
times
this
we've
is
done before.
spontaneous.
but you also said that the reason people do that in jars is because of prohibition, right? I mean, partly because people were trying to contain the smell. That was the first time I'd heard kind of that. No, maybe not.
I don't know.
It's
I-
theoretical.
Could have been.
The problem with
theoretical.
me is I never took prohibition seriously. I mean, I did get a number of arrests, but I still didn't take it seriously.
Yeah. You actually, I mean, that case, in Oakland,
Yeah,
you were licensed by the city to
the city
grow,
testified
to
for me,
grow,
but the
feds went after you for the grow.
The city
That's
attorney,
outrageous.
the city attorney testified for me, but the feds would not let the jury hear the testimony.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And you ended up winning.
no. Oh,
Well,
I got
not winning.
I got a bunch of felonies, but the judge. You see, the judge
I guess
was
that's not winning.
the judge decided that it would be in his interest for me not to have any time, so he jiggled all the numbers, and I got 1 day time served.
Wow.
And then I appealed my conviction,
Right.
and I went on trial again. But I had already served my time, so this is very there were two unusual things in the case. One was that after the jury brought in their verdict, this activist from one of the marijuana organizations, she approached the jurors as they were leaving the building and said, "You don't understand what a mistake you made. Please read the papers." And on Tuesday, when they were going to discuss whether to remand me, this happened on Friday, Thursday or Friday. On the next Tuesday, when the court came into session, 10 of the jurors were there, but they weren't in the jury box. They were there as civilians. And the judge saw them, and he grew faint. I mean, he had to sit down pretty quickly. He didn't realize what had happened over the week. I mean, and the outside of the courthouse was jammed. The courtroom was jammed. So at that time, the prosecutor wanted me taken away right away, and the judge gave me time and 6 months till sentencing. And during that time, the publicity grew so much. You know, it had been in the New York Times. The New York Times was editorializing on it and everything. And so, and the judge's friends, who were pretty progressive, he was a socialite, and they weren't getting him. He and Cindy, his wife, weren't getting invited to parties and things.
It's always the parties.
He was a member of an exclusive men's club, and the members of it wouldn't speak with him. Would avoid him and things. So he figured out a way to give me 1 day time served, and then I went. After sentencing, there were all these people. There was this press conference, and all these people were thanking the judge for his enlightened thing. And I, shouting, said, "This judge did me no favors. He made me into a felon. No one should go to jail for marijuana." And that was the end of the Kumbaya effect.
Right.
Because if I had said
that's the yippie.
If I had said thank you to the judge, it would mean that this was okay, and it wasn't okay. And all those organizations that went up there and talked about how enlightened the judge was, bullshit. This judge was just a technician. He would have been good in a Nazi camp.
It was lip service.
Yeah, whatever the state wants, he'll serve them. Right. So that's the
yippie philosophy too. It's that we're not just going to take what you give us. We demand more. Yeah. We demand our rights and as citizens, and whatever we want as the people. Right. That's the hippie kind of credo, right?
Right.
And along with a lot of spoofs and fun, and their protests were always had a fun, cool angle to them, right? I mean, there was always
Abby Hoffman steal this book and the whole Guide to Living Free.
He dropped dollar bills at the stock exchange onto the floor and had all the stockbrokers running around picking up the money. And they did at the Pentagon.
I did a pot auction in front of the White House on July 4th.
There you go, pot auction.
Pat Buchanan wrote about it in the paper.
Pieing people in the face was a thing.
That was Aaron K.
the pie man. I mean, that was part of their thing. Was if you didn't like someone's politics, you put a pie in their face.
We should bring that back.
This mayor.
Well, no, these days
that's a felony. That's a felony.
Nowadays, you get wrestled to the ground.
Is that assault now?
That's a felony.
You can get killed.
Yeah.
Secret Service could kill
attempted murder. At that point.
Yeah.
You can't pie the Trump.
You can't pie people anymore. Not in this day and age.
You can't mess up that quad.
No, what we were talking about earlier when you were saying about the smoke-ins, I quite seriously think that states that have problems with social clubs should just do that every fucking week.
It shows that we need a place.
And just all of them just show up and,
Every pot rally is that.
Yeah.
And Boston Freedom Rally, Seattle Hemp Fest. We're demanding.
There are amnesty zones. For the longest time, people came together to congregate under the umbrella that created. They had amnesty on those days, and now they don't necessarily need that amnesty.
The other thing that it did is
we need a place to
but we
celebrate.
still need a place.
It gave people a sense of freedom. That here, this is what post-prohibition is like.
Right. But now we need places of our own, like people who drink have bars, people who go see sports to see sports.
But we're talking about outside. That this is what post-prohibition is about. That people are going to use pot and not get busted. And that's what the smoke-ins represent.
Yeah, smelling like weed is no longer probable
The cops
cause.
wouldn't go in when there were 2,000 people.
Well, there was times when they would. I remember New York, 300 arrests, Boston, 100 arrests.
Well,
they're picking people out of the crowd.
Yeah. Go. Do that.
Right.
Do it. Let people see how horrible it is.
Oh, yeah.
And let the press report it, because by that time the press was reporting it. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Provoke the police.
Oh, I'm all about it.
Well, when the crowd is 50,000 people and they pull 300, you're still kind of protected by the anonymity of the crowd. And I think that's what created these events and what gave them their velocity.
And some of them...
But now there's no arrests for the most part,
Yeah. And it's not as fun at all. It's way more B2B. It's not as lifestyle as it used to be. It's not like the clandestine community coming together anymore. It's more like showing off what we have for sale.
But I mean, also, you can give up some of the fun for not going to jail.
Yeah.
You know, I
mean, I'll give you that.
See, like a lot of growers aren't going to like this, but I want to see pot go down. I want to see pot for pennies. Not pennies for pot, but pot for pennies. I want to see it so cheap that when teenagers say, hey, should we get a 6-pack? And then one of them will say, listen, pot's so cheap. Why should we get drunk? Let's just get a bunch of pot.
Well, as someone who knows so much about growing, you know that the price was all in the risk.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason an ounce is $400 is the risk that it took to
look at
to
Oregon
grow
now.
New York ounce.
Well, I'm saying ever. Even $50.
But look at Oregon.
Even at $50. The cost is still in the limited amount of risk that someone's taking to make.
Right. And so right now, if I wanted to get into the tomato business and I had a half-acre farm, I can't be relevant in tomatoes. I can't grow on the scale that required.
You know what you'd have to do?
Craft.
You'd have to grow the most amazing heirloom organic tomatoes and sell them directly to restaurants and chefs.
We have a small portion of the industry for craft, and then we have this massive chunk that's going to get eaten up by corporate cannabis.
Well, I'm sticking with the craft.
35 cents a gram cost of production and more.
In my book, Marijuana Growers Handbook, there were the two most important things in the book were in cultivation. The first one was a warning that using marijuana may not be habit forming, but growing it is.
Yeah.
And that is a truthful warning. I mean, growers understand
we all know that, yeah.
Okay. Now, the second thing was my tomato model. And I'm talking about tomatoes in the U.S. So, you can buy tomatoes canned or processed by international companies, national companies, local companies, by farmers, and there are all levels. And, there are small tomato farmers, what you would call boutique. Some of them just sell to a few restaurants, directly to a restaurant or two.
That's the Danny Danko method right there.
That's what we were talking about with craft.
Then some of them, have a small farm. You said a half acre. Half acre would, in some parts of the country, would generate about $300,000 worth of tomatoes.
I think it boils down to more than that, because it's like a fair market decision. There's going to be a section of the demographic that says, I'm not going to buy Walmart weed. And it may not necessarily be better, but to be considered craft, I think you're going to have to be small.
Well,
local, not necessarily having the best in the product,
no,
but being
you have to know farmers don't go small. When you look at just a small farmer who has 20 acres, they don't do boutiquing, but they grow fine crops, and they have the skill to handle those plants in such a way that they are that quality. And remember, most of the quality of the plant is in this. It's in the environment, not your treatment of the plant. And I think plants are a lot like kids. Kids, if just given just a little guidance, and can develop well. But if you're trying to change them into something that they're not, or trying to do different things with them, it's just messing it up.
Yeah, no amount of piano lessons was going to turn me into a savant.
Well, and also it's better to let them figure it out themselves, and then to try to help them out every time, helicopter parent them, you know what I mean, and be like, no, that's not how you do that. You have to just like watch
you can't create a bubble. You got to let them go out there and fall down.
Oh, of course we'll get.
Well, what if you had a drone that had an optic on it that could see that could determine that there were aphids on a plant, and if there were, just spray it with some biologicals.
Sure, and at this point in time, I mean that's all super doable.
Yeah, it's being done.
I wouldn't doubt it,
but not in cannabis.
No, and but it won't be long. I mean that's
we hope so.
For sure, and I already know they do male identification on large, like on acres, 10,000 acres, and can fly over that with a drone in a day, scanning plants, and when they have that right, they just detect that yellow color of the male flower. It's been set per presets, but in general, like that kind of stuff, even if it's only 90% effective, if it's just that ability to scan 100 or 1,000 acres at a time instead of having to walk in, or send out a crew of people. Those kind of things are pretty amazing, but not even that far of a reach because they're already normal things, in regular agriculture. Welcome, crew. The whole family now.
What's up? I'm back. I told you I'd be back.
Black is back.
Back in black. And this time, I brought
myself.
My better half.
Yeah. I wanted to say it, but I figured I'd let you do it. Welcome, guys. Welcome back. We were here till late last night, weren't we?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, those vegan burgers came.
And I know, like 10 minutes after I left, I was like...
Not even 10 minutes after you left.
We were like...
The funny thing was the time kept changing on Nick T's phone. He would say, like, oh, it's 20 minutes. No, now it's 40 minutes. No, now it's 30 minutes.
But
now
they came.
And it came, and it was delicious, man.
Really?
It wasn't even what I ordered, but it was so good.
Apparently, nobody got what they wanted. So.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining.
MTI got the only. Everybody else's.
Yeah,
but the chicken sandwiches were good.
I was very pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
So nicotine.
So yeah, we basically went to bed at 5 a.m. and slept until about 1, and then got started with our day. But that's okay. It was a long travel day.
Hey, it's the Festival of Hugs, seeing everybody that we haven't seen in a long time, and you really can't walk any more than 10 feet without running into someone and catching up.
It's class. I always think it's like every time you go to these shows, it's literally like high school reunion, and when they're getting almost to that ridiculous point sometimes because maybe you see each other 3 or 4 times in a year because you're at the same shows and stuff. You're like, oh my God, I haven't seen you since 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but this one's a little different for us because we haven't been to Europe in a while. It's been since 2013, babe?
Yeah, 2013.
So it's been a minute, and it's nice to see people that we don't get to see at the U.S.
Yeah, I was here 2012. That was the last time I was here too, I think. Yeah. So.
Wow, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We love the city, though. It's a beautiful city. So much fun.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's kind of like Barcelona is one of those cities where it's like, not that Vegas is anything like Barcelona, but whenever there's a convention in certain cities, people go because they know it's going to be like a scene all around it. But Barcelona has a little bit of everything going on because
it's an electric city.
Yeah, well, it's
also like Vegas. It has a lot of stuff going on late night, after hours.
All going on.
So
the city energy is awesome.
That's an important thing when you're partying in a city and you have your options open.
Because you can get vegan burgers delivered to you at 4 in the morning.
4 a.m. We had food delivered at 4 a.m.
Ed was born in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Ed?
Yes.
Confirmed. You were born in the Bronx?
Which biography would you like?
Sure.
I have a number of biographies.
Well, I sense the Bronx accent somewhere deeper there.
Brooklyn and Bronx accents are a little different, but they're similar.
I was born in Manhattan.
Oh.
Yeah. I was born in Vegas.
Exactly. So you guys do any kind of just you traveling this time? You have any packages for other people coming over?
Well, I had a couple guests that came out and booked a package with me because I booked their travel before. But actually, we're here to plant our flag and to develop the packages of the future, and the packages that we want to do, and we want to have the experience as the traveler would, so that way we know exactly what the experience is that we're offering when we're talking to people about it, because they just may have questions that I will have the answers to, instead of saying, hey, let me ask and get back to you about that.
The important thing with us is the relationships. So if you create good relationships in the place you're going, you know that when you send your customers to those shops and those people and those vendors and stuff, that they're going to be well taken care of, and it's going to be a pleasant experience. And that's what it's all about. It's creating this seamless, awesome experience for stoners out there. Go visit someplace and really get the flavor and have a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But we'll cut that one out, dude. I'll make a commercial. That's on point. So yeah, it's been surprised if you guys have a travel company that you haven't been over to Europe in 5 years. So where you guys been concentrating on your?
We've been in transition, moving.
Yeah, we've moved cross country, and then
twice.
we moved twice. We bought a house, did all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of time consuming stuff, but we've been focusing on Jamaica. So I built the Baked on the Beach trip, and so we're gonna have our second year with that coming up this April, and now with Spannabis coming up, we wanted to come out here, and since we knew so many of our friends were going to be here, and so many of our other connections that we haven't talked to in a long time, we just want to reconnect with people and solidify the relationships that we wanted to keep in place, so that way people can go to all the spots that we love.
Did you guys get to go to Ben's spot, to the Hash Museum?
Not yet, no, because we met up with you, and then we stayed out till so late, like we said, and
still just got here, man. We got a whole week ahead of us, so we're definitely going to check it out.
Ed is leaving the building.
It's done.
All right, Ed.
Bye,
nice
everyone.
It's all right, man. Thanks for coming through. It is 1:22.
I have to get up and not man a booth tomorrow at some point.
Yeah. We'll see.
That's very difficult, not not having a booth. Yeah.
I know. I'm freestyling it tomorrow. I'm gonna be cruising around interviewing people. So I'll find you out there.
Yeah.
Thanks for rolling through.
Yeah.
Always nice to see you. Are you going to jump in now? You going back? Oh, yeah.
And we're back with Danny Danko.
Whatever,
yeah, jump in here, Danko. Brooklyn Buds.
We need to do a shout-outs part 2 as well.
Yeah, I'm going to finish the shout-outs while we're doing the transition here, because that was a halfway through.
Watch out, Ed.
Ed just stormed the building.
He's like, it's been over an hour. I got to go.
Oh, yeah, no, he did his hour. That's for sure.
An hour, remember?
So next on our list was Build a Soil, right? Bam, Jeremy. Once again, congratulations. Jeremy's getting married.
Oh, awesome. Legendary Colorado soil and,
at least on the western slope, which is like magical place in Colorado as far as growing and just like inputs and stuff. So he's always had that edge as far as, being able to put it to, actual use in real conditions. And they've solved some major stuff as far as like large scale fertigation with organics that actually works, because normally it's like, nope, can't do that, we get all clogged up. Go
yes.
point
past the peak,
right like so like basically took organics to a whole different level.
Just being able to do thousands of acres of organic regrown, and
that's awesome.
Putting it really fucking out there. So but you don't have to grow that big. You can be small, you can be a little guy. You can contact them at either buildasoil.com if you want to go online, or go to 855-877-SOIL and call them direct and talk to somebody there.
I also remember them for some really cool YouTube videos too, where like they really show you through the process.
Well, the cool part about those guys is if you call that number and talk to anybody, they're all growers. They all know what the fuck they're talking about. It's not like only Jeremy knows what's going on, you know what I mean? But Jeremy is the man, so if you do get a chance to talk to him, obviously
what's
waste
that number
as
again?
Much time as you can on the phone with him.
What's that number?
855-877-SOIL.
855-877-SOIL.
Booyah.
That's pretty easy to remember.
I know, I can remember it.
Very catchy.
That obviously means it's really easy to remember because I'm not even looking. I'm just throwing that out. It's literally like if I got like in a car accident, I'd probably remember that number first. Before just call 855-877 soil. That's the only number I can remember.
Your one phone call from prison.
Pretty much. Jeremy would be like, "What is going on?" But I think Jeremy is the kind of guy that probably would help me out.
What?
Your thing's rainbowing.
That's good customer service.
Rainbowing. Talk to the owner over there. Rainbowing? Is that even a thing?
It's like a rain.
These things make rainbows when you're doing something wrong. I don't know.
Once the rainbow,
we got rainbow action going on over here.
Rainbow on the peak. Oh,
it's a bad thing. Bad thing.
So build a soil.
Build a soil.
Amazing Colorado-based.
And again, like hard to find amendments. Sometimes the simplest things are the hardest ones to find because most grow shops don't carry like dehydrated coconut for plant use, or things like that.
If you're into no-till or you're into like all those
cover crops,
living
no-till,
soil, basically, like
IPM,
all those,
any
right?
Kind of pest management with
all the beneficials
predators.
and
Yeah.
predator, bacteria, nematodes and things that.
Yeah.
Bobby's like, what are you talking about? No, these are bugs that kill the other bugs.
Goddamn nematodes.
Bobby, these are bugs that kill the other bugs.
It's
actually a beautiful thing. That's nature.
They're carnivores and they're devouring vegetarians.
That's poetic.
Yeah. And the vegetarians are eating your pot plants, buddy. And these carnivores come in, they're ripping the heads off of them and sucking out the juice. And
actually, what's crazy is like, I was thinking the other day,
it's a beautiful thing to see.
I throw out so many ladybugs, and even when you have aphids or something, you'll see them just like walk right past it. And you're like, "Hey, motherfucker!
No, what? Eat!
He's right there.
Your food just walked by you."
And it was
they're lazy ladybugs.
They are a lot of times, but then the other day it was weird.
They're just full.
I was thinking to myself about like, fuck, I never see these things eat. I turn around, I see one fucking just like chowing on it. I was like, holy shit, he's tearing into him. I was like, yes, I guess it works.
What about mantis? When mantis eat?
Oh my god, those are fun. That's
real.
Well, praying mantis are cool too because they're like if you because how they have to kind of fight to the death at birth, right? So they're born, they're fighting. And,
has somebody put that to the music of Spock and Kirk fighting yet? Because that's a brilliant meme waiting to happen. Copyright Bobby Black.
Don't worry.
Copyright Bobby Black.
This is our way of doing shout-outs, bro. This is how it goes. Yeah, it just goes into tangents.
Well, you can buy these products at Build a Soil.
Exactly. That's what we were talking about. See, we were.
And then you can literally watch like a nature show in miniature on your weed plants.
But no, again, like the praying mantises, you can actually train them so the winter you get him, you put him on top of your plant, and he stays there. That's it.
Just monitors.
He guards that little area. That's his shit. And then you can put him on all the individual plants. They have little battles below each one. A battle to
gardening.
Yeah.
Don't mind me. I'm just a comic.
I thought I was growing plants. Now I got bacteria. I got insects eating the other insects.
I know. I
got ladybugs.
Soil.
I got.
It's like, hey, I got a little problem. I need taken care of. You guys take care of it for me.
I got rabbits.
Take care of it for you.
Well, they work.
That's a good product.
They work all night, which is great.
Yeah,
that's a good
ladybugs
product.
Indoors though, such a nightmare for me. Like, just truth be told, they die, and then you step on them, and that smell comes out when you step on ladybugs, and it's really gross. And they fly into the lights.
The worst is when they fly in the lights.
They fly into the lights, and it's kind of horrific because you release thousands, and so hundreds die like instantly, pretty much.
Hundreds die instantly. Yeah.
The truth about ladybugs. I'm saying it's the truth.
I mean, yeah, it is.
I came here to tell the truth.
I'm not going to candy coat it for you.
Terry would be proud of you.
Ladybugs.
It is one of those
sad
sad
things. So if
things.
you're growing veganics and then you do that, does that undo it?
I mean, you're pretty much enslaving them at that point.
You have to be prepared to deal with a lot of dead ladybugs, is what I'm trying to say.
A true vegan would definitely not enslave another animal.
Outdoors, greenhouse. I mean, look, they want to migrate, right? So they eat, they get their fill, and they want to go. They want to bounce. And what do? They fly up and they just kind of go towards the light. And the light is a hot 1,000-watt bulb. So it's not, the sun leading them home.
Sometimes you see them too. They hit it like 3-4 times, and you're just like, "Come on, guy! You haven't figured it out when you're hitting it." It's like this isn't getting me anywhere. But
it's like, isn't that must be how evolution works? There's one bug that's like, nah.
Well, these are the lab bugs.
I ain't doing that.
It's not like
that's the gene that goes on.
They're not catching wild ladybugs and putting them in these sacks.
Yeah.
They're lab grown.
I know.
So that might be the problem too.
Yeah.
They're a little dumb.
All right. I think we're gonna move on to the next sponsor now. How's that?
How's that for?
Hey, that was an entertaining spot.
It was.
That was very entertaining.
Jeremy said
that kept people
How's
interested.
that for a live read? You can buy all that at Build a Soil. What was the number? 877-855.
So close. 855-877.
It's a beautiful product. Beautiful product.
Beautiful. It's beautiful over here. Okay, speaking of beautiful, Mr. Ron Wallace.
The pumpkins.
Yep, pumpkin
That's
Ron.
the
Yeah.
homie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's the homie. Of
I'm
course.
sorry to step on your read. Go ahead.
You got excited, didn't you? Did you see
Well,
how excited he got? Did
He
you see,
was excited,
Did you see
yeah.
The
that?
guy grows 2,000
Yeah,
pound
the giant
pumpkins.
pumpkins.
I mean,
I got some giant
award-winning
pumpkins.
record.
Yeah, so
size.
connect me with him.
When you land in Rhode Island at
It's
the
all about
airport, his picture's on the airport. Like,
wow.
They're proud of this guy. I tell you.
He does it in Rhode Island.
That's awesome.
In the
I'm
Rhode
looking
Island
at pictures
sun.
of these pumpkins right
In
now.
the famous
They're
Rhode Island
incredible.
sunshine.
Forget Jack. He's the pumpkin king.
Yeah.
What? Give me joint.
He grows the
Off
biggest.
the hands coming on the screen. Anyway, Mr. Ron Wallace is a proud sponsor of the Adam Dunn Show. We've pulled him into our world because I had a mutual friend that was studying under him and just saw the connection. He's like, dude, it's weird. Like, pumpkin growers and weed growers are the same but different because they have different goals, obviously. But it's like, you know, some growers are yield orientated. That's true. But for the most part, you know, it's like quality and all the above is really what you're going for. But in this case, when you grow giant pumpkins, there's absolutely no other use for it.
It's just about the
being
size of the
giant.
pumpkin.
Yeah.
But that giant pumpkin goes to the fair.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it
he
wins awards.
He
And
gets
those seeds sell.
$500 a seed.
Those seeds sell for more than cannabis.
Yeah, $500.
He's crushing the
a
cannabis
seed.
community.
$500 a seed
Not
for the
every time,
2,000
but like
pound
for the big daddies. And he, you know, if you get 10,000 of those in there, you're like, oh, that's a pumpkin.
And it's really about this.
But 90%
soil.
of them just get squashed by elephants in the in fair or some bullshit.
Yeah, I was just imagining some dude eating a bunch of pumpkin seeds, and he doesn't realize that they're $1,000.
Which one is? Yeah,
yeah he's just like, eating them. It's working. What are you doing?
Or feeding it to a horse or something. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Now in some city too, they also do these pumpkin boat contests, and they carve their own boats out of giant pumpkins, and then they
sail down the river.
Down the
He's
river.
been on like the Today Show with the pumpkins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's done all that
I
television.
bet you he's been a guest at this pumpkin carving.
I would hope
boat,
they
boat
would
carving thing.
invite him.
But the key isn't just the pumpkin seeds; it's the
it's the mycorrhizal product.
amendment that he makes. The mycorrhizal.
He makes a mycorrhizal product, which is awesome, and he's got a bunch of other ones that are like tried and true, and he's just kind of repackaging them for to get everybody to know the right balance of what to use. And he's just an all-around great fucking 10-pound tomatoes. He's like, it's like, what do you want?
In Rhode Island, which is not known for like awesome growing conditions.
Rhode Island's interesting though. It's like it's kind of
from there.
Yeah, it's weird because it's one of those places. For pumpkins, it has this extra like 2 weeks over a lot of other places just because of where it's at. Like especially Rhode Island, for some reason, like they get a little extra bump. So
they can go into October and whenever it just keeps going.
Yeah, and that's literally the most critical thing about pumpkin growing is it's like crazy because they're up to getting like 60 pounds a day at certain points when they're really cranking. So you can imagine something's growing 60 pounds in a day. It's like a fucking baby whale or something. You know what I mean? It's like,
and you got to baby them too. You got to put blankets underneath it, and it's a whole science that comes with that.
Yeah, and the other part that was interesting when I went and checked out his garden was like say 6 pumpkins, and it was like 1,100 square feet of just canopy for those 6, and then he would cut out 5 of them and just concentrate on the one. So it'd get down to like 1 pumpkin on 1,150 square feet of vines going back and forth. So feeding that.
All those vines are feeding that one pumpkin.
And he had to like figure out and line them up perfect so that they don't, kink and get weird. And it's just like, it's crazy. So it's just like if he said when he's cranking, he can go out, lay back, and just hear him kind of grow like.
Wow.
Wow.
So you're like, hell yeah.
How do people get their hands on these amazing mycorrhizals?
You go to WallaceWow.com.
WallaceWow.com.
Wow.
Wallace, wow.
Wallace. Wow.
I'm wowed.
And you
I'm
gotta
wowed
ask,
by what
okay,
I've
so
heard.
done deal at this particular spot, and I should have said at Jeremy's too. Once again, forgot my incredible deals. The done deals. How'd you get in today? Done deal.
You mentioned your name and they let me in.
You have to say done deal.
It was a done deal.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I told everybody.
You said done deal.
Yeah.
Oh, good. See, it's working. Worked here.
Hashtag.
Worked here at Tresor.
Hashtag
It works.
done deal,
100%.
trademark.
But it also works with Ron, and it also works with Jeremy. Can't do Incredibles.
This is your code.
Yeah, I can't do Incredibles because they're just everywhere selling them, so I can't get everyone to give me the done deal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like who, what, the huh?
Right.
It's just too complicated.
But people can use the done deal with
Ron's
Wallace,
of course.
amazing
Yes.
mycorrhizals.
Amazing.
And
Yes.
that's a thing that you can do.
And you don't know what it does. You have no idea what it means. It could be just nothing. You know, the done deal could just be cool. You got 0. Yeah, whatever. But it could also just be like, holy shit.
No, it really works.
I think it's special.
It did. No,
The done deal.
The done deal works.
Most of the time, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Other times, when you try it at places that actually don't know what a done deal is, it doesn't really do so much. It's like, what? But we encourage people to try it everywhere on everything. Because we figure at a certain point it'll catch on, and then it'll just be like, yeah, I guess so. Whatever that is. Sounds
It's like Bobby's BBD.
It's a done deal. BBD, bigger better deal, baby.
On the green farms?
Oh, yeah. But the website's down or up? Website's down. Is that down?
That's down.
That's official? Black screen means down, right?
They're working on it right now, so they're changing it around.
Oh, they're improving.
Who knows? Someone could be listening to this like 50 years from now, and by then the site will be up. I'm just kidding. It could be 10 days from now.
50 years, maybe a little stretch, but green farms. No, I think it's because they're literally blowing up all over the fucking place. These guys they are proving no-till in commercial applications in Colorado, which is nice to see because most people just talk the talk. They don't walk the walk, and these guys do. They also you have a medical place in Colorado Springs if you have a medical card in Colorado and you live near the Springs. Narrowed that down pretty quick, didn't it? I'm talking to you, whoever that is. Then they should check out their again, total line of organic, no-till grown cannabis. True craft.
Yeah. Hyper local advertising.
Yeah. And well, the thing is they also have a grow shop in Louisville, which is close to Boulder, and you can pick up all the amendments, just like we talked about earlier.
And you say no-till on a large scale?
On a commercial
I didn't think
scale.
This was possible.
Well, it is, sir.
And how is this accomplished?
Well, it takes, like everything with no-till style growing, you're talking about taking your time because you're literally building your soil. Back to build a soil, see they're getting double advertisement. And actually, I know he carries a lot of, at that shop, he's one of the few that actually carries a lot of Jeremy's products. So
nice.
But they have,
and you improve on your soil over and over, and
it gets. I mean, usually by the 3rd or 4th round, it's the stuff you put in the first round is finally breaking down enough that your plants are able to actually use it. Compared to people usually think that they're just doing better by throwing more at it. Like, yeah, just give it more, and you're like, it hasn't even. It's like people eat meat every single day when they don't really need to. They could probably eat it like once or twice a week and probably be way better for them because by the time they just keep piling it on,
they can't digest it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome.
It is awesome.
And then there's cover crops and all kinds of things that you do too.
Yeah, exactly. And with the cover crops, it's knowing which things to grow at the right time so that they break down. And again, you just cut it right in place and let it fall. It's kind of weird because it's one of those things where you feel like you're doing everything wrong when you first do it, but then you realize later that it was just the way it should have been from the beginning. But we're so used to having sterile grows that are super clean and
I'm doing that this year.
Well, you're replicating nature, You're replicating nature, and you're allowing those mycorrhizal strands to do what they do.
What strands, bro? I'm going to isolate that strands.
Yeah. No, mycorrhizal.
I know.
Strands.
No, I'm definitely isolating that part. I'm going to make you say strands.
Strands, literally.
Strands.
Yeah.
Say it to the camera. Say strands.
Strands.
Isolate that.
April's rocking her cover crop
cultivars.
situation.
Yeah. At first you're doing. I do feel like I'm doing everything wrong, but
Isn't it weird? Like it's like when you first made water hash and you just put the weed in the water and you're like, "The fuck am I doing?"
Yeah,
I totally fucked up.
Yeah.
I
wasted this weed.
And you're not sure for that first round until you're done, and then you're like, "Oh, well, maybe I do this all the time." And then all of a sudden, it seems like the smartest thing to do, but for the first moment or two, it's so counterintuitive.
Totally. I'm excited about it. I can already tell. I can already see a bunch of, I don't know, bugs and stuff flying all around it, really. But I found a bunch of different worms in there that I'm sure wouldn't have been there before.
Sweet. Yeah, and if you get to that point where there is literally an ecosystem happening, it sort of gets onto this point where it's like the chain has been put on the bike and it's you're almost like ready to go now. You don't have to, not that you don't have to monitor it at all, but you really minimalist, and then that's when it becomes interesting. So that first part of building it up is
just get out of nature's way, basically, right? Just let
you add organic material on top,
but not too
and
much.
let nature do its thing.
Yeah,
the worms do the digging, and they know where the strands are. All the best strands, they avoid them.
They seek out the best strands.
Some prefer some strands over the other.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Yeah, worms have preference too.
So go to greenfarms.co if you want to check their website when it's up in 50 years. What did you say? About 50?
I was kidding, but
could be.
I'm just what I was
be safe,
saying.
Just to be safe.
Your show has longevity.
Somewhere between now and 50 years, it'll be up. We'll just be safe, right? Better safe than sorry. And when I get back into Colorado at the in-house studio, we'll probably have those guys coming in pretty soon because they got a whole bunch of other big things going down, CBD projects and large-scale grows, and I think everybody's finally realized this stuff is happening for real, and it's like you better bring it.
They came around.
Oh yeah,
it finally came around.
Oh shit,
real for real.
This stuff for real. It's for real. And let's see what we got. We got seeds here now, I think, right? Oh my God, seeds here now.
The best name. Yeah. The best name of any
yes, and it's pretty organic how it was created.
Seeds here now.
Well, because people kept saying, "Do you have seeds?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." And he'd go, "Do you have them here?" And he'd go, "Yeah." "Do you have them now?" And he'd say, "Yeah." And he said it so many times that he was like, "Just call it seeds here now," because pretty much that's what all people want to know. So.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I always thought it was a play off of Ram Dass. Be here now.
That's a good.
Could be depending on who he's talking to. And now that you've said that, I'm sure that's going to become the whole new
backstory.
It sounds way more.
And you heard it first.
It sounds way more educated than
he has every reputable breeder in his.
He does, and in his quiver.
Quiver.
I've actually got to meet those guys, and because they work with Crockett, they're one of Crockett's biggest distributors. So
for sure.
Working with Crockett, I've had to deal with them, and they've been great to deal with.
Dusty's definitely the glue there, keeping that stuff rolling. And the thing is, when you deal with so many seed companies, it's like you got to understand. There's a lot of people with things that just change on a daily. You don't know, like, oh shit, I need to take care of this now, and and I know the pressure of trying to keep 30 people or 35 different breeders all going, and and it's proven its test of time because he's been our sponsor for years now, and just see he's the best return policies and all those kind of things.
They hold it down, man. They hold it down.
Customer service is everything in the seed business. God, I mean, so many fly-by-night operations that you don't know what you're going to get. Throw money into the wind and just hope something comes back. And who knows if it's in a breeder package, if it's like the real deal,
or if it's give us your first, second, and third pick, and we'll hope that we have one of those.
Try to get you something.
And sometimes it's not any of those.
No, they make themselves really available, and they work really hard to satisfy everybody. Yeah. Customer service is everything.
Yeah, and that's why we love those guys, because they're on point and delivering the goods, which is it's a tough racket, even though it seems like it's an easy one. Everyone thinks it's the easiest thing in the world, but it takes more than an Instagram account and a bunch of followers, because that stuff, as I talk to all the people that are out here selling, it's like, just give me the genetics. I'll know in 5 months what the fuck's going on, because I'll have the feedback, and that's kind of what's nice about places when you go on these yearly. I haven't been here in a while, but hopefully more like the yearly visits. But you can kind of see what worked from the last time you were here as a breeder. And surprisingly, sometimes the things you think are just, duds of the ones, and the other ones that you think are shit don't fly. And, it's always fun.
How cool is it when people come up to you and they're like, "This is the seeds you gave me a year ago, and I grew it, and here's the results."
Well, I love it now because here's the oil or the diamonds from it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, damn, this is like, I feel like that's pretty cool.
Right.
To see it in its even clean, even like more pure form.
Right.
And I think also with all the cups that are going on and all the shows and things like that, it's also just to show how on point they are. That like if there's breeders that want to do their own thing, he lets them do their own thing, and it's like there's not this whole like that's the problem too. Like I was saying earlier, egos are getting out of control in the industry.
If you want
and everybody's like, you can't have this guy if you got that guy.
The ego is not your amigo.
Well, also think about the importance. Like you can learn anything. You can learn everything from Ed and Jorge or me or whoever.
Not me.
Probably not me.
Why didn't you say
maybe
me?
you?
Yeah,
well, you too.
No,
but
you don't
where's your book?
I know.
Where's your
Ed wants me to make a book.
Right? Yeah, Ed needs to make a book. Anyway, side note. But you can learn all of that, but none of it means anything if you don't have the right genetics. Mm-hmm. So Seeds Here Now is where you get like guaranteed from the breeder, basically direct to you through them, the real deal of what you ordered. I mean, that's so important.
Sure, and then like the thing is that James also respects growers like heirloom strains that they maybe are known for. So if you're coming in with your version of their thing and he already has that, he's working with that person, it's not like he just stacks them on top. So so he kind of respects all these people's space, which is cool.
Yeah, and not easy either because there's so much to keep track of.
Exactly, and that's where it gets really must.
Oh my god, it's dicey.
Yeah, and I don't envy him at all. Like, hey,
no, but he provides an amazing, incredible service.
Sure,
we
love you, James.
No doubt.
Honda's thinking is good at it.
SeedsHereNow.com.
Yeah, and we should shout out Tresor too.
Oh yeah, no, this is like
Tresor.
The funny part was I've been shouting out Tresor now for a good year plus, and these guys didn't really even believe it was a thing. They were just like, "What?
This was the first. This was the club, the number one club I wanted to go to."
Of course. Well, I'm just saying, like I have good atmosphere, good music. That's one of the things that's very hard to find in a lot of these places. Is quality music.
Love the art.
One of my favorite parts of this club is that
it is
the tunes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
One of the things Bobby and I remember from going to Amsterdam years and years ago was coffee shops where you could get yourself a beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I kind of miss that. You know what I mean? You got to go to the bar. Yeah. And I mean, it's just no one goes crazy and goes nuts or whatever, but you have a beer and you have a spliff. There's not two separate places you got to go.
Were you there that year when Rokerai served us beer and it was non-alcoholic beer and they didn't tell us?
Yeah.
We ordered beer?
Yeah.
And we got so
I'll remember
pissed.
it forever.
How many did you drink before?
It was the first
two,
one.
probably, and then we were like, and
we were really high.
And someone told us, yeah,
was
someone
it
said,
no alcohol or like 3.2?
No, it was a no alcohol beer because they had changed the rules. But we were shocked. We're like, are you still serving beer? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, score.
I
thought they were in the gray area somewhere.
We figured that one out quick, though.
Yeah, we were like, nah.
Actually, gray area. Speaking of which, I did see John.
I did see John as well.
And we had a chat. We're going to get him on the show, I think, hopefully tomorrow at Turb Tower because
he's got stories.
We both got
another Rhode Island guy, too.
We went to the same school, dude. We went to the same elementary school.
Wow. Are you kidding?
Yeah, we didn't know each other. But
Todd McCormick's a Rhode Island guy.
I know.
There's a lot of Rhode Island people in the cannabis space.
Yeah, it was the kind of place you had to get high to deal with it because it was.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing trips to space.
With Elon?
Stoned in space.
Higher way. The highest way.
The highest way.
That would be the highest way, actually.
Go to Mars and get high and come back.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
I doubt
you can literally say I'm higher than any other human has ever been.
Yeah.
Adam
I'll take you higher.
Adam Hill.
Yeah, no, that's trademarked.
Yeah.
I'll take you higher.
I want to work on a trip with him too.
You'll have to have him launch into space.
How do people find out more about Higherway?
Highwaytravel.com.
Highwaytravel.com.
And if they want to travel and have cannabis-friendly experiences. I'm always...
Yeah.
I mean, I travel... I usually have cannabis-friendly experiences just kind of by default. but not necessarily if I'm on vacation, right? Like if I choose a place that I don't know someone there who can supply the right vibe to my trip, I think, well,
that's higher way travel.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say, hey, I'm in Costa Rica. You got a weed hookup?
No, I'm talking about I need a flight to Costa Rica. Can you please tell me what's the coolest place to stay with the butterfly museum?
What was that website? There was a website that had like a total like go down this one alleyway and take a left.
Oh, I don't know that. Oh, like places to score kind of thing.
I
don't know about that. That's a whole different ball game.
That sounds.
Let's start it. I know it was real. No, it was real, bro. I wasn't dreaming.
Wow.
Like geocaching, but get your weed.
Yeah, and then who to get it from. Yeah, not quite that detailed,
but imagine you come into Spannabis for the first time. You need some guidance.
Places to go, how to go.
The other beauty, like we were saying earlier, how the front of this place is so clean and so nice. You would never know. Like if you didn't have a clue, there's absolutely no reason you would think anything's going down because it's.
You just walk right by.
Yeah, it's designed to not draw
right
too much attention at all. But and that's the thing is the image that people have is always so wrong. You know what I mean? Like whenever people think of, like, because the problem, like in Amsterdam with the coffee shops, it was like you get those scooter kids and you get those, there is that whole other like just hanging out, wasting time kind of crowd, which ends up using the space just because of the fact that it's like buy a teacher and sit there all day, right? Sit there literally the whole day, like that's it. I paid $10. I'm sitting in the same spot, drinking one cup of tea, and that's it. You know what I mean? But I think that's a lot of times the design of places are designed to be way too comfortable. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like
there's an etiquette too to that. I mean, you got to spend a certain amount to hang out, and I know some of the places there's some pretty feisty, servers that will come and say, "Hey, come on,
it's time.
It's time. Go. Yeah. What are you doing?" The more classy joints.
The ones you're hanging out.
I don't know about the ones you frequent.
The riffraff. Yeah, I'm in the riffraff. I'm in the like $10 all day.
That's we have high friends in low places.
That's for sure. So you're going just here and home, or are you guys going to cruise around?
I'm going to go back home, and then we have a whole bunch of series of cannabis cups and all kinds of events coming up.
Tell us what's your big.
I mean, there's April 20th, of course.
What is that? I heard of that.
It's a famous holiday that
Hitler's birthday. Yeah, it's great.
No, it's more about Columbine. No, JK. Of course, everyone knows
this. It's the most politically incorrect show ever.
You are
guys.
Yeah. 420, the Stoner.
The Stoner.
Yeah. That's when they have their Jamaica trip as well. Yeah. Which is the venue for that. Coral Cove is amazing. And
I did see some photos.
It's not like we're not talking about like Negril, like touristy on the whatever.
Like
this is
it's not the deal where like we see a picture, but if you just pan to the right a tiny bit,
secluded and serene.
No, this is like your own private paradise.
I have panoramic.
It's not a fire fest. You guys haven't been doing fire festivals.
Yeah, Break Down the Beach. Break Down the Beach 420, and then High Times has their event on 420.
10,000
people.
Where's your
event?
Where's
we have the SoCal, we have Mid-Cal, or like Middle California kind
Central
of
Valley.
Central Valley, and then we have Northern
Is that in
California.
Sacramento?
That one's in Sacramento.
All right.
Daly City,
Jeez,
which is the old Cow Palace where we've done some events in the past. We got a bunch coming up. Michigan also is announced.
Michigan.
And then the racetrack. The racetrack. I haven't been there yet.
One of my favorites of all time. I love it.
Oh, Michigan, and people there are so cool.
It's great.
So chill.
Cool vibe.
Yeah.
Salt of the earth people.
Yeah, and great cannabis and like a great cannabis culture.
That's where Scott comes from.
The Illuminar.
No, Scott.
Ruby. Yeah.
That's the stomping ground right there.
Yeah. Good people.
Yeah. For sure. And you guys are doing your Jamaica thing on the 420, and then what's your other big? Do you got any other crazy?
Well, we're working on trips, packages for Hawaii. We were just in Hawaii for the Hawaii Cannabis Expo. Dan was there, and I had a little side trip called Surf and Terps.
Yeah, Surf and Terps, which was awesome. This was the inaugural Surf and Terps, where we tasted fruits and paired them with. You can say
cannabis,
it better than me, but cannabis.
We had a party bus, and we drove to a grow And we got some really nice island-grown cannabis, and we had some different fruits. And then we went to the beach.
Have you heard of
the North Shore?
North Shore, towards the North Shore. And we went to the beach, and we got to take some pictures and have some fruits. We stopped and had lunch at a great spot. And
amazing.
we're just smoking it up on the bus. And then we went back to the expo, and it was a great time. A lot of people came and got to meet each other, and now they're friends.
Yeah. And I met the MMA guy there too, Rumble.
Oh, Anthony Rumble
Johnson
was
with us. Big.
What the hell is Anthony Rumble?
He's an MMA fighter.
MMA fighter. He's like a champion.
He was a cool
guy.
guy.
He was a cool
guy.
Yeah, he was champion. And he gave us a really nice compliment. He stopped us. You were there too. He stopped us and he's like, I just want to let you guys know you're the coolest people that I've ever hung out with. Remember that at the beach?
So cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, we had a good time, and so we're building out packages for Hawaii, and we're of course building out packages for Barcelona
and Amsterdam.
And Amsterdam eventually.
Have you? Are you familiar with the All Hawaiian International?
The Ahi Cup?
Yeah.
In Maui?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, this year is going to be in Oahu, which is nice.
Oh, okay, cool.
A little less exciting.
Yeah, Maui's magical.
Yeah. But it's a little more easy for people to
It's
access.
easier for people to get
and they
hotels.
They need a
stuff.
bigger venue.
Oh, they should. I'm going to have to talk to them.
You should talk to them. It's in June. It's June. It's
oh, yeah.
June something.
Perfect.
I'll be there.
I think I'm available June something.
Yeah. Hawaii is like one of those really hard sell places. You're like, I don't know if you want to come to Hawaii.
I get good travel packages and stuff with my vendors, so flights and the hotels.
They
and
just
everything.
recently allowed for people with medical cards in other states.
Yeah, reciprocity.
So they have reciprocity in their medical shops, which
That's
there's only a few.
That's huge for tourism. Yeah.
Oh, very huge. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Just
that's why we're getting on it. We're on it. The packages are coming, people.
Yeah.
Sweet. So people find you at Highway Travel and Danny Danko out signing, pandering for with
pressing
signing.
the flesh.
Hustling books.
Book hustler.
2 for $30. You know what I'm saying? They got garbage down the block.
You got to meet
I
your
got
future.
books here. I got books.
Today.
You guys want a book?
You're gonna be the next Ed, bro. How many books do you have under your wing?
I don't know. I mean, to me, just grow. I just want people to grow their own and grow it better and get the right genetics and get all the right products and
He's the grower
do it properly.
For the people.
And it's selfish because I just want to smoke better weed.
No, it's about being a true believer.
That's true too. I mean, I'm a true believer, but I also want to smoke great cannabis, I should say.
Yeah, true believer in cannabis.
I take quality over quantity anytime.
Yeah, it's the plant. To me, it's about the plant. Like you talked about the egos and this and that. People are like, oh, you're an OG, you're this, you're that. I'm a servant to this plant. We all are, and that's the plant is what helped us and brought us to where we are. It's not about any particular person or entity or brand or anything. It's just about the plant, and that's hemp, that's cannabis, that's CBD, that's THC, that's all the things you get, the fabric, the seed, all of it. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I mean, we always...
I think it is the end of the day, actually.
It's the beginning of the next day.
It's actually the beginning.
Now it's the beginning of the next
definitely
day.
past that, yeah.
At the end of the day, you mean now?
Right. But it's a healing flower, right? Ultimately.
8 minutes of nonstop jibber jabber. Go.
You have a specific time that this ends?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right now.
It's literally 4:20.
It's ending as we speak, dude.
But Mountain Standard Time.
Okay.
So now we're following exactly to the schedule.
Shout out to the one dude watching 50 years or listening 50 years from now.
Hello.
I wonder if that website still works.
Or a whole nation. Maybe a whole nation.
Well, the guy in the future, when the website does work, he went back in time and brought it to us here. So hopefully, so that we'll get to see it.
It's working.
Wow.
Oh, did we even? Oh fuck, we didn't push record though. Dude, don't.
All right, man. Well,
no. What's been? Okay. Let's wind it down. We got 8-minute wind down. Let's.
So what else are we gonna do? We're gonna go to Spannabis tomorrow. You're gonna do some more recording.
I'm gonna cruise around and interview a bunch of people. I'll probably hunt you down. So
it's huge there. It's like a maze.
Tomorrow, I want you to be on my show.
Oh shit! Yeah, of course. What do you do? You cruising with people? Or you have?
I'm just gonna do. Yeah, I got the handheld.
He's a mobile unit.
So.
He's a one-man mobile unit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. We'll just have to find out a quiet spot. It's like that's the one thing there. It's like it's
there's a lot of noise.
It's big though too. It's just like Jesus Christ. But you can just tell like if you're just looking, if you do one of those classics where you miss each other at the beginning and never see each other.
I keep them short and sweet. We have fun. Just sit and chill and chat.
Nothing outside. Oh well, yeah.
Yeah, we'll find a spot.
But yeah, it's the biggest one I've ever seen. Obviously, it's like amazing to see even with all the pushback like Holland has with grow shops not being able to sell anything really hardly at all anymore without any kind of problems, and then with the amount of effort that goes into producing this plant, even when it's quasi legal or a gray area, and when it gets legal is when it starts to you start to really see the what it takes to actually do it right. You know what I mean? Like we've cut corners for so long that nowadays you start to see like grows becoming more kind of uniform too, which is kind of boring too. They're like, okay, rolling tables up, everything's at 12-foot span, everything's exactly the same size, pretty much HVAC, everything kind of dosatrons, and you're like, okay, well, it's but I'm pretty excited about the future because I think people are gonna start to Henry Ford it, you know what I mean, where they're gonna start to say like, why are we doing it like this when we're not trying to. There's no reason to grow whole crops in one room when we can just run them down lines, you know what I mean, or factory, and it'll be interesting to see because like Ed was saying before, automation might be the way to, supply the masses with the most perfect growing looking
Robo-Crop,
priced out thing. And I'm kind of down for it too, but at the same time, I also think, getting your hands dirty and doing all that is from a personal point of view, way more rewarding. So never get rid of that. Always keep that kind of close to home. But I'm excited to see the future. I think it's going to be more than interesting.
I'm constantly learning new things. I'm like really geeking out now on vapor pressure deficit and how that affects
VPD. That was you have to listen to one of our old shows.
I listened to the shows, but
Mitch was the VPD guy, and he was all over that.
Yeah, but now seeing it in action really just shows that there's so much more left to be learned about grow room environment and climate and how you control it. And Mitch also brought my attention to leaf surface temperature as well, and all the research that was there, and that really changed a lot of the techniques as far as lighting.
Well, especially when you look at like as a consultant, which I think you're you and I are both, even when we're not officially consulting, we are always kind of going in and saying, well,
Wait, can I pick your brain?
Take me to lunch first, please. Yeah. That's at least the minimum.
Right? You're gonna get a lot of exposure. A lot of exposure.
It's gonna be really good. But yeah, like just knowing that you could tell somebody that they could run their system at 8 degrees warmer when they start calculating in their minds like what 8 degrees is on a 100,000 square foot warehouse a year. That's like, oh shit, it's like $30,000 a year right there. It's like paid for itself just like that one little hit, tweak. Like, oh, okay. And then on top of that, you can, obviously work from there. But yeah, we'll have a show hopefully soon where we can just next time you come across something super awesome, you just have to like save it for the show. Like don't put on your crappy show.
Wow, the beef. We had a beef between our shows.
You already blew No, they forgot already. They forgot you've screwed it up by the
No, believe me, they know.
They know the beef's real. The beef is real, dude. Yeah. We hate each other. Oh man, me and Dan, we go way back.
See
you see
I save all the good stuff for my show.
Yeah, whatever. There's like decades of friendship in this.
Decades.
They put it all together. It's a lot of time.
No, for sure. No, it's always good to see you guys.
Well, Bobby's been going to Amsterdam.
I met him
in
94.
Yeah, 94.
Gray hair.
That precedes me by 4 or 5 years right there.
Oh, see.
He started as an intern at High Times when he was 19.
Right.
Can you imagine?
That's the magic age. When you're 19, you can do anything. At that point, you could literally go in.
That's correct, right?
Might have been 20 or 21. 20, still, I think 20.
I mean, 20 years old.
At 20. It's definitely
20.
Just jumps in, goes right to Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, and I was majoring in advertising and design. I was gonna like design ad campaigns or something. And then
you did too.
And then
along the way.
Yeah, but then somebody was like, a friend of mine in one of my marketing classes. She got a job at High Times as an intern in the ad department, and then she moved on and said, "Hey, they're looking for a new intern. Do you want to go work at High Times?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to work at High Times." So I ended up going for the interview, and it was a funny story. I was wearing a Zeppelin t-shirt and ripped jeans. I had no portfolio. I had nothing. They just told me, "Go in today. Go see him." I met with John Holmstrom, and he hired me on the spot, and I ended up making a new position for me because they didn't have an art intern at the time, but they made me an art intern because they realized I was more into art than ads. But anyway, that's the sorry to go into the
origin story. It's awesome.
Origin stories of the Adam Dunn Show.
And then Bobby Black. That's my Clark Kent. It's my Clark Kent.
What year was that?
94 is when I started as an intern.
So you went straight to Amsterdam, like you said.
And then I was working there 2 months, and they were like, "Do you want to go to Amsterdam and work at this event?" And I was like,
"No."
You're gonna pay for me to go to Amsterdam? Hell yeah, I want to do that. And I went, and it was a crazy experience.
And that was Party House.
It was the first time they opened it to the public. Really, before that, it was a private party.
Wow.
So the first time they sold judges' passes.
Exactly.
And I was in charge of registration, and I got mobbed.
Started.
It was me and one other person running registration at the PAX Party House.
Yeah.
And there was mobs of people on the street, and it was pouring raining, and they were getting. The whole entranceway was filled with people, and it's me and one other person, and I have 3 or 4 different lists to check names against. So people are coming in, and everybody's angry. They're wet. They're cold, and they're like,
Dutch.
and it's the first time. And I'm like, "What's your name?" Wait, and they're all paying me in different currencies. Like this country, that I'm like, I don't know how to make change. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have no change drawer. Like,
God.
it was crazy, dude. It was crazy.
Your first 3 or 4 cups are just that, like that, where
experience.
you're on the front lines and all that, and then
that's where it always.
Hopefully, you pay your dues.
Literally,
I paid.
That's for
your dues.
That's where all the pressure is on that first day registration.
I didn't know what to expect.
People, it never goes smooth. I don't think I've ever seen it where
you're running
it's
into
gotten
people
better.
with
I mean,
different
Craig made it
languages,
automated and like
computerized. We improved
maybe
it
now.
immensely
I'm
over the
talking
years.
Amsterdam days. It was
Well,
there was no automation.
Yeah.
There was a couple years where we got it down pretty decent, but
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I think our team became a well-oiled
was going for a while. We had the iPad voting that worked out pretty well.
Power Zone never had big lines outside.
No,
Craig instituted the iPad voting, and that was a cool thing.
I was on the front lines at the Power Zone with people, and
we can definitely get into.
We had some good times at the Power
Zone. I
Zone,
good people, but really just trying to find people who can translate into languages that I couldn't really understand or
a lot of people show
hand motion it out.
Well,
you're just trying to figure it out.
I speak to a lot of Russians that come.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Japanese people that would come.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole Japanese team of people would come. They were so fun.
First Magazine, all those guys.
They would have
Hot Dog
100.
Magazine.
They'd have a crew of 100 people.
Hot Dog Magazine.
They were awesome. You would see them every day. They'd say, "Oh, hello."
Business card.
Yeah. Yeah, they
did
were
the whole business card.
Oh, yeah,
which was amazing.
We had some great times. PAX Party House days. That's old school.
Like even cannabis industry.
Well, PAX Party House was definitely like, especially the first couple years because it hadn't quite burst at the seams, but then it did.
It used to get so crowded. It'd take forever to get up and down the stairs.
Oh yeah, and it was just because it was right next to the police station. It was ridiculous. Like you come out and you were like connected. The building was connected.
We did have good times there, though, man. It was cool.
I mean, there's a police station right by Milk Lake too. Like
you
know all about it.
Oh, I spent an hour in jail.
Bobby spent an hour in jail for handing weed out to people in the line at the sugar factory, allegedly.
Well, the charges were dropped. The charges were dropped.
The year they had the hole in the floor that year.
It was at the sugar factory place, and it was pouring rain. Another situation where people are outside getting wet, they're getting grumpy.
You got to bring
cold.
Some weed.
They're waiting to get in and get their pass.
Yeah.
And so Hager gives me this bag of weed, and he's like, "Go out there and just hand out nugs to people, make them happy." Give them weed and they tell them to just be patient.
It'll be okay.
So I go out there and I'm going down the line, giving little nugs. People are getting excited. People are like, "Hell yeah, man, it's cool. Don't worry." And I think I'm doing a good job. And all of a sudden, 2 guys approach me, normal clothes, just come at me. 2 Dutch dudes, and they're like, "Okay, you're coming with us." And I'm like, "Excuse me, what?" And they like take my arms, and I'm like, "What do you mean? What's going on?" Like they haven't even identified themselves. You know what I mean? And I'm like, "What's going on?" Like, you are coming with us. You're under arrest. And, you need to come with us. And I said, okay, well, can I just go inside? I got to tell my boss and my lawyer who's in there that this is happening so they know. Otherwise, no, you cannot talk to anyone. You have to come with us. And I'm like, listen, I will go with you, and I'll do whatever you want me to do. But I have to tell someone I'm here working, and I have to tell someone from my company that this is happening, so that you guys can figure this out. And then finally they relented. They're like, okay, so we went inside, and I was like, Holland,
I need your help.
Anyway, I spent an hour in a Dutch jail, but I got my hash back.
I sat in that same jail.
Yeah.
Across the It was, and it was on a Friday night, and I was watching all my friends go to a party, and I was like sitting in there looking out the window. Like, oh, dude, look at there's Monica. There's everybody. Everyone's going out.
You can see your friends from the prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wasn't really a prison.
Well, jail.
It was just it was at the station.
Holding cell. Yeah.
Holding cell, exactly.
Have you stayed in touch with Monica? How's she doing? I haven't talked to her in a while.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna be up in on Monday through Wednesday. So we're going for Cheeky Monday.
Oh right, yeah.
Which is we literally planned the entire trip around Cheeky Monday, pretty much.
That's cool.
That's in Holland.
Yeah. It's the longest running drum and bass party that I've ever heard. I think like 15 years or something like that now. So.
Well, please give Monica my
never
regards,
stopped,
man, when you
actually.
see her.
Awesome.
Yeah, we will.
And we're looking forward to trying to get back over to Amsterdam as soon as possible. Hopefully, end of this year or early next year or something like that.
Yeah, like I said, same as this, same as coming here, 7 years about the same time. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's like the whole trip is
going to be awesome.
It's been great because we're bringing the whole crew here. So Josh has been there a few times, but everybody else,
great. I'm excited for you guys.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
really
and it's funny because
guys.
it's like it's a little less exciting now than it was because obviously you can buy weed everywhere now, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. But once you go to Amsterdam, I think for the first time it is like there's so much kind of
smoking in this coffee
different
shop.
vibes than you're totally used to.
It's cool.
It definitely is.
Fun.
It's a good time.
And this time of year too. I mean, we would always go in November, so my vision of Amsterdam is just cold and rainy and
It's
miserable weather,
sideways,
Cold
hail and things like that. And then I went in July and May a couple times, and
it's
I was
like a different world. All the tables are out in the squares. People are eating and
house
drinking.
plants are all on their stoops.
I want to go when the tulips are happening at the.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Keukenhof.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. It has its moments there for sure. We're going to be there Monday through Wednesday. Predicted rain every day. So I was like, good. You guys are going to get the real Amsterdam
experience.
Yeah. True Amsterdam experience.
Yeah.
Can't go there and have it too nice. Otherwise, people think an illusion of.
I don't know. I really like the bitter ball, and if you guys eat meat, it's like to
you
me,
have
it's
to.
good stuff.
You really
man.
have to
I think it's
appreciate
good.
it when the sun comes out there. Like you have to.
I know that.
Oh yeah.
That.
Well,
baller.
the funny part is that when people do sit out on the patios and stuff, it's all based on sun per like whatever hour the sun is there is the only hour that people are at that cafe. The rest of the time, fuck that place.
They're cafe hopping by the sun.
You literally just like you see the place like
across the
start to go shady,
and then a little shade comes in, and then whoop, 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 they start squeezing over.
Wow.
Oh,
I would think ahead and just go like 2 cafes ahead.
No, they're literally absorbing every single gram of sunshine they can. You know what I mean? This is like, how can I absorb the most?
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to that part of the trip and the next couple of days here at Spannabis. So,
right on.
Danny Danko, what's your easiest way? DannyDanko.com.
Danny Danko HT on Instagram.
Cool.
Danny Danko on Facebook and Twitter. My book is on Amazon. It's called Cannabis: A Beginner's Guide to Growing Marijuana. Anyone can learn to grow if they want to, or you can buy corporate weed. Whatever. I mean, it's up to you.
It's totally up to you.
No,
Buy your weed from
you can
Monsanto or Marlboro, or you can make it yourself
Get your
out
living
of
soil
light
going
water
on,
and
grow
be a
your
modern
own.
day alchemist. It's really up to you. You know what I mean? But I know what I'm going to do.
Sounds good. I will too, definitely. And you guys, higherway.com, I would assume.
Higherwaytravel.com. Check out Baked on the
Higherwaytravel.com.
Beach in Jamaica. Also, please check out Blazing with Bobby Black on Cannabis Radio and CrockettFamilyFarms.com.
And tomorrow we'll definitely do that interview. So that's obviously going to have some great shows coming up. Not really.
Stay tuned.
Shout out to my beautiful wife Cece sitting there hanging out. Yeah. And little Nick survived snowpocalypse in Colorado. You saw that? It was fucking blizzard, dude. Came through.
He's got no
Babysitters, music, all sorts of good fun he had. So yeah, he's with grandma, so it's all good.
Nice.
And school was out for 2 days. Dude. I mean,
wow. In Colorado,
that's crazy, dude. Colorado never happens. 2 days of school out? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
In a row?
That's wild.
For like not even that much snow? Just a lot of wind. Crazy out there. If you guys are at Spannabis and just come to booth number 90 tomorrow. I'll be at THC's booth. And if you're in, obviously come to see Tresor here. And just look them up at Tresor BCN on Facebook. And I think Tresor, you can just look it up and it actually pops up like a real place.
Cool.
That's great.
We're booth 39. DNA Crockett is booth 39. Check us out. And Adam, I just want to thank you for the hospitality and for having us on your show, man. It's been
glad
great.
I could get
It's a great place, man.
Half the
Tresor,
half of the crew up here.
Always a pleasure to get the Dunn deal.
Done deal. Feels good, right?
Yeah. Come to Tresor for the Dunn deal.
Come to Tresor and listen to the show next week. We'll have no idea what we're doing, do we? No. We'll be in the studio though. Yes, we will. At the studio. Who knows?
ADS.
That's right. ADS Studios. See you guys next week.
All
Peace.
Right.
Practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden.
This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.